sure our SACU colleagues and the champion are aware that the ERS is still using PTP, that is Preferred Trader Program, when referring to this program, as we are still awaiting the amendments to our legislation, which shall incorporate the changes in the program name and also provide the framework for the safety and security component of the program. Before I get into the purpose of the sessions we will be having today, I want to congratulate the SACU team and the AEO champion for the successful engagements on this very same program we are starting today that happened in Namibia last week. It was impressive to see the level of interest this has raised among the clients. On that note, the ERS highly appreciates the support we have received from the Secretariat in undertaking the preparations. I believe the quality of the outcomes from all the member state sessions will deliver what was envisaged by Council in commissioning the ongoing activities for promoting awareness and creating enthusiasm among all stakeholders in the AEO program. The success of the engagements will result in all of us seeing our relevance and the part we need to play in making AEO a high visible program throughout the region, and that the program is not merely one that serves only the interests of the revenue administrations, but translates to tangible trade facilitation benefits for the participating clients. Today's discussions are meant to allow us to reflect on how the ERS has fared in the implementation of the accreditation program. The Executive Committee is fully behind these initiatives, and we all know that among the strategic focus areas of the ERS, we are pursuing 1, improving our use of the compliance risk management principles to underlie our responses to and treatment of client behavior. 2, cultivating relationships that are built on mutual trust with our clients. And lastly, implementing programs and initiatives that will encourage voluntary compliance. Because all the aforementioned focus areas are some of the practices that are applied within the accreditation program, it has a clear alignment to the organization's strategy. Hence, EXCOM has agreed to having officers whose role will be specific to undertaking the validation of preferred trader applicants. This team will still be working with the PCA team, as they are the ones who currently have exposure and were trained on the accreditation-related procedures. The session that we are having today is important because the ERS is an organization that values continuous improvement, and we perceive ourselves as a learning organization that is always striving to be more efficient and effective in all the endeavors we undertake. We have included in this session a slot where we will want to objectively look at gaps or issues that contribute to a slow uptake in the program, as we will all remember that we only have 2 accredited traders. Oftentimes, when faced with the question why there is no progress in implementing what we had set out to do, we fall into the trap of thinking that we need more resources. And ideally, that those should be human resources, because when you have more people, you can do more. Although that may be true in some situations, we need to also consider other factors that may need to be interrogated and adjusted without adding numbers. And this is the approach we should start from in this instance. As going forward, we will have resources dedicated to this role. What is important is to deploy those resources where there is already a good foundation that enables performance excellence. I want to encourage the team to make the best use of the discussions in order to learn and grow. Let us remember that by combining what we know, the outcomes or impact is far greater than when our efforts are pursued in isolation from the next person. We should therefore be open to ideas that others bring to the table and should not shy away from critique as This shines the light on the areas we may have blind spots on, and thus we do not see opportunities to change. Let us lift the organization's value of innovation, so that where others see threats, our outlook should be, how can I turn this to an opportunity? And where others see mistakes, we use those experiences to pick lessons that will grow our strengths for future success. I trust that there will be key takeaways for all of us, and that the border operations team, the client relationship manager, and all who are part of the client services team will use the information to promote the program and encourage clients to enroll in the program. You should therefore be actively engaged in this session to be able to provide basic information about the program requirements and benefits, and the benefits clients can get by participating in it. This means we will all leave this room at a level that will be higher than where we currently are, because the implementing teams will also benefit from the discussions on the gaps and will therefore have the task of turning the proposed mitigations into implementable action items that will move the program forward. Let us then start our session in that learning mode and challenge ourselves to contribute as to reap maximum benefit from the discussions. I thank you all.
What is this AEO program? In case you may not be aware of the program itself, it's a global standard that has been developed by the World Customs Organization. As you know, the customs fraternity, we are part of the global community. In terms of the AEO program specifically, currently worldwide, there are more than 80 AEO programs that are run, globally in different regions of the world, and SACU is also amongst those regions that they have developed this program. And it's really a program that is intended to work on compliance of traders and ensuring that you promote traders' compliance, but also in the same way you award them, the benefits for their compliance. So, what are the criteria for traders to join? They have to be compliant. They have to keep records of their compliance. As customs officials, you will know better, in terms of qualifying criteria for an exporter, for an importer. And also the fact that they must meet like your basic business, requirements, have a registered business, keep your financial solvency, have a premise from where you're operating, keep records of your transactions so that customs can actually use that to verify or validate your information. And also, what is also most important for traders, they have to know the customs laws which govern their business, And we also have a compliance requirements when it comes to issues around safety and security. And this is the future of the AEO program. But the current program that is being implemented is mainly around compliance. So the program itself contains two pillars. One is the compliance pillar. The second one is safety and security. And the major differences are that for compliance, the requirements are reduced, and for security, we have extended the requirements. And now traders may ask you, why should I join this program? What will the benefits be for me? And I would say that from a customs point of view, the feedback that we are receiving from member states, not only Eswatini, has been that for the benefits that we are giving to traders, some of the traders are of the view that they are being eroded by the broader trade facilitation measures that are being implemented, now with the WTO trade facilitation agreement and other, trade facilitation agreement, measures that are being implemented at the country level. So how do we make it attractive, So we need to make sure that we relay same messages in the region of the fact that they will benefit, from the issue of speed, their transactions will be expedited, and also they will benefit from predictability. So they will know what to expect because they will have let's say, for example, in Eswatini, a customer or client relationship manager who they will be communicating with from now and then and as and when they so require. And there's also another main benefit which is key for traders. One is recognized as a trusted trader, from one country to the other. For example, in the SACU region, we are working towards a mutual recognition arrangement whereby a trader that is accredited in Eswatini can be recognized when they cross the border in South Africa. So we afford them the same treatment. I think that is the major benefit that clients can see as a differentiator between or amongst these benefits that are currently being given. And of course, for their businesses, the message that we have to also relay or convey is the fact that this will perhaps maybe result in low cost of the bottom line in terms of their businesses whenever they don't have to incur penalties for non-compliance. That's already a saving. And also if they can get the products to the market with speed, that's already a saving as well. And of course, we from the government point of view, we are aligned to international standards, as I've indicated earlier on. We also put together just a roadmap to demonstrate and also share information on when we started with this program and how far we have traversed, in terms of the work at hand. So we started in even way before 2017, but we just wanted to capture the recent milestones that we achieved within the program. So the program used to be called Preferred Trader Programme, and you may still be reading about it as a Preferred Trader Programme in the documents that are shared internally. I just need to mention that the heads of customs have so far agreed to amend the naming from a preferred trader program to an AEO compliance program, which is the lower level of the AEO program. And the ideal program that we have to be implementing is AEO program with compliance and security. But we are aware that we are yet to get there as a region. So what happened in 2017 is that we officially launched the program, the Preferred Trader Program, and it was also piloted in South Africa. And we continued to work in 2018 around putting together legislation, manuals, and all documentation. And in 2019, we had a fully operationalized P2P program in Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, and South Africa. And Namibia continued with the pilot. And we started also seeing a number of traders that wanted to be accredited raising. In 2019, we had 114 preferred traders that were recorded. And between 2020 and 21, We also commenced the assignment to draft this regional AEO program that contains security and safety. And we also, of course, it was the year in 2021 when the program was renamed, AEO Compliance Program. And of course, we also had an achievement or a milestone where South Africa also launched an AEO Safety and Security Program. Now, last year, which is 2022, we completed a SACU Regional AEO Program which contains compliance, safety, and security. And of course, this year, we're standing with a total of 174 accredited traders under the AEO Compliance Program. And work is underway to review the utility blocks. Utility blocks that we are referring here is simply the IT infrastructure that is going to support this program, so that it's implemented in a digitalized kind of an environment. Now, the qualifying criteria, now in terms of the lower level of the AEO program, which is compliance, we have the criteria there, as I've mentioned earlier, and as well as the benefits. I won't go much into it. Now, in terms of how did we segment the traders? So Botswana has accredited 3 traders, Eswatini 2 traders, Lesotho 10 traders, 1 for Namibia, and 158 for South Africa. Now, the future of the SACU Regional AEO program, this is where we are going. Now, we shared with you in terms of the compliance aspects that we are currently implementing, but what is more important is where we are going, and that's what we want to engage with customs officials, with other government agencies and private sector, so that we get a buy-in to this program. At this stage, I will ask Mrs. Pelisa to take us through this slide from now on.
I know I'm taking over from the last bit, from Maggie's presentation, where she was giving us the background of the program and where we are headed for the future. So with this particular slide, basically, we just showcased a number of initiatives that will assist us in terms of moving with the future, understanding the trends, so that we can link it to the trade facilitation concept that we're trying to build. So in this particular one, where we're referring to a minimum criteria for the region, what we are aiming to do is to ensure that our AEO program, as well as its requirements and criteria, it's inclusive, so everybody can participate. We want to make sure that we've got small, micro, medium enterprises participating in the program. We want to make sure that we've got various business models that could participate, various economic operators that could participate. When we're looking at the intention of the AEO program, we always say we're trying to make sure that we improve customs compliance, and also we want to make sure that we improve supply chain security. So we're going to have various economic operators that will also be participating, that are not only importers and exporters. We will want warehouse operators. We will want even free zones to participate, even their operators or their tenants within the free zones. We will want various economic business systems. We're going to have also cross-border e-commerce, because of the fact that they are bringing in new emerging risks that are coming from those specific industries. So when we say we want a program or a criteria that is inclusive, that is incorporating all economic operators, that is also flexible, we want to manage the perception that the program is only for large traders, but most importantly, we also want to manage the effectiveness and the impact that it has on trade facilitation. So that's where we'll be going. Secondly, we want to make sure that the program also has got a very huge impact when it comes to trade facilitation. So basically, hence we say we need to expand the program not only to customs administrations, but also to other governmental agencies. Now, this is aligned with the requirements of trade facilitation agreements. It's also aligned with the safe framework of standards, specifically with Pillar 3, where we're saying we need to harmonize and coordinate activities between various interagencies. So for the program to really be effective, for the program to make such economic impact, it has to have all economic operators. It has to deal with risks that are coming in based on new operators. It also has to have an element of other governmental agencies. So it's very, very important that we start the process of involving and creating a single government AEO concept. And I think tomorrow when we're meeting with other governmental agencies, we'll then even touch on that further. Then also, as we are aware, we're trying now to build a regional program, but what we're trying to get to is a situation of, honestly, mutual recognition agreement will mean that I am recognizing traders that are coming from or authorized economic operators that are coming from various members of the SACU region. But then we'll expand the program so that we are recognized globally. So we will come to a point where we as SACU will start signing mutual recognition arrangements or agreements, perhaps with other regional blocks, or we can also look at signing with other countries that we are trading with. So those that are top trading partners. We will want to have an augmented situation where the benefits are really augmented so that they add value to the bottom line of the trader. So we need to make sure that really when we're saying these are the benefits that we offer, they are firstly tangible and secondly they are meaningful. So we should have a situation where we understand what which benefits will add value to the participants and our ability to measure them. And also we have to make sure that, when we're reviewing the process and we're reviewing the program, we need to make sure that we've got key performance indicators in place that will be measuring the success of the program, also the success of the benefits. So we have agreed that for our region, and when we designed the program and it was signed off by the heads of customs and as well as by the councillor, the Council of Ministers, to say that this is the approach that we'll be taking. Right now, as Maggie has indicated, all 5 member states have got AEO compliance program. We are also then building an SMME program. We can either look at ensuring that the criteria remains the same, however, we'll have sub-criterions depending on the size and the financial muscle of the participants, and see what other things we could propose to them so that they can be part of the program. And then we'll eventually get to, the fully fledged program. That fully fledged, which is in tier 3, has got a compliance component, which is what we currently have majority of the member states, as well as safety and security. And I know from Eswatini's perspective, you are currently drafting the safety and security aspects of that from a policy point of view. So now we're talking to what are the full AEO requirements, and this is based on the Safe Framework of Standards that we published in 2021. In our region, when we're referring to AEO compliance, it's the first 3, with the 4th one that is not here, which is sufficient customs knowledge. So basically, with the one that refers to consultation, cooperation, and communication with customs, basically that particular criterion is saying we need to have someone that is, from the applicant's perspective, that is communicating with customs, and that particular person, we normally refer to them as a point of contact. So that point of contact has to be knowledgeable of customs requirements. That point of contact has to have policies and procedures in place on how to communicate with customs as well as other governmental agencies should there be a risk or should there be an incident. That particular point of contact as well should ensure that they provide us access to information and to physical places where it is required, either during validation or when we're doing post-accreditation validations, etc. So in a nutshell, that is what it is. Then for staff education, training and awareness, basically it's just saying that those particular employees of the applicants that are responsible for key areas, so what would be those key areas? It's areas where they are managing cargo, areas where they're managing information, and areas where they're managing access and IT. So all of those employees, they have to be trained on how to, how to conduct customs-related issues, or how to, what's the word? Yes, how to conduct customs-related information, how to secure the cargo as well as the conveyance. So they have to be trained how to secure their IT systems. They have to be trained on that. Then again, I've noted that in your benefits, you're talking about providing training to employees that are managing those key critical, either security or cargo or information. So that is where you can also link this particular criteria to that benefit to say, as much as it's a requirement, but we'll also, once you are accredited, we'll continue to train you as per the benefits and as per the requirements. So it links beautifully together. Information exchange, access, and confidentiality. So that information security is not only IT security, but it's also documentary security. So basically here we're interested to know what measures does the applicant have to protect their security, either against, cybersecurity attacks, or just a breakdown, or if there's an incident, how do they ensure that they come back to it? So that is what it means. Then conveyance security, basically what we're interested here is how to applicants secure their cargo when it's on the move. So from the point of manufacturing up until it reaches the point of destination. So if you've got, again here, when you have OGA such as Department of Transport, or those that are dealing with transport, this is also where they could also come into play in you combining efforts with them, because this particular criterion is very, very important for them. So as you are selling the product of AEO to other governmental agencies, you could also consider that. Then we've got premises security, which we all are aware of, access security, personnel security, and trading partner security. So basically, it looks at how do the existing employees, how are they recruited, what are the recruitment policies, how do you ensure that they remain ethical in how they conduct themselves, etc. So it's a number of things that we're looking at, but if I'm just summarizing, that is what it's about. Trading partner security as well, it's basically to say whoever the applicant is doing business with, what kind of measures are put in place to ensure that they also try and improve or implement security related requirements in their contracts, in their contractual arrangements between the applicant as well as whoever they outsource their service to. So that is basically what we're interested in. And then crisis management, we know what that is. I know there's an element of that in the existing AEO compliance program. And then when it comes to continuous measurements, analysis and improvement, basically what we're interested in is that the applicants they must have the ability to conduct self-audits. So they must validate themselves against the AEO criteria. They must have quality management mechanisms to make sure that they meet the criteria, and if they identify any anomalies, they should have corrective measures put in place. So this last one is basically putting back the power to the applicant to say, you then also conduct your own validations Then you can give us your findings. We can then use that maybe from a risk management perspective to revalidate so that the process is easier. Remember, we're saying AEO traders are clients that we trust in. So, and in them conducting their own self-validation as part of our way of managing the risk. Benefits, we understand, we know all the benefits. Basically, it's just to indicate the various generic benefits that are out there. As you are expanding your program as well to other economic operators, you can also consider having operator-specific benefits. So the proposal here is, at the end of the day, what we want to see when we start having the single government AO concept. You can either have it with a number of AO traders, governmental agencies, or maybe a few or one, so that it would be a bilateral. But as the region, this is where we will end up going. So we want to have a situation where there is one application. So that would mean that in the existing accreditation review committees that you have, it would not only be customs, but it would be customs and the other governmental agencies, where there would be even the application process in itself, when they won't just need to submit to customs only, but they would submit to other governmental agencies. So it would be a one application and one authorization and one response kind of a situation. The harmonized criteria, basically we'll have to take the existing AEO criteria and then link it to some of the criteria that maybe those other governmental agencies would want to include in the criteria. So this also fits beautifully with Article 7.7 of the Trade Facilitation Agreement, because it says it's compliance to customs requirements and other requirements, which implies other requirements include other governmental agencies. So we need to harmonize that criteria so that it's not only customs, but it also includes requirements from other governmental agencies. We would need to look at how do we extend the benefits that we're offering so that also other governmental agencies can offer trade facilitation benefits. And the key things that traders want with this particular one, they want benefits that relate to, they have to be expedited when they're submitting or when they when they have their consignments at the borders. They want everyone to expedite them. So that is a key benefit. In South Africa, we are also piloted in actual fact with the Cross-Border Road Transport Agency, and some of the benefits also included not making use of the weight bridge and a number of things so that they can move, the truck can move faster than it would normally. So those are the kind of things that traders and applicants are really interested in. Just a reminder to say what are the elements, what are the key streams that we have in trying to implement the program. We have IT connectivity, that is looking at the utility blocks, our ability to identify each other's traders, because if we're saying we want, according to the benefits that are in the MRA, we want to expedite, as part of the benefits, we want to expedite processes, or we want to expedite consignments from AEOs. It requires that we have to identify them. It requires that we must have a system that will identify and ensure that their consignments are really intervened upon way lesser based on the risk management level. Then talking about risk, the next one is a risk management stream that looks at various activities that we have to undergo when we are validating. So they have to look at various risk areas, so tariff valuation, all of those things still remain, and some of the security trends that we have to consider. So this particular stream is very, very important, because in order for the member states to trust each other's AEO, they need to know that the risk management processes are similar, as well as the validation processes are similar. We've got a legal framework. The stream deals with mutual recognition, or with legal frameworks such as mutual recognition arrangements and agreements. We always talk about Annex E. Basically, that is the document that highlights our ability to share information with each other. Now we will have a stream that talks to government agency collaboration. We might also consider then bringing into the stream something that will include the private sector, because at the end of the day, as when we are creating this program, we need to start involving them in the process of creation. And then we will need to ensure that we continuously monitor and evaluate the program to see that it still meets the standards. Secondly, does it add value, and does it meet the strategic objectives that we have with regards to trade facilitation, with regards to inclusion and impact to the economy, etc. Also, with our risk management, we might need to enhance it using artificial intelligence so that we can also, leverage on issues such as machine learning, etc., in building this AEO program. So that's where we headed, colleagues. The implementation plan, we started conceptualizing it. We know we've got the draft manuals. So we do know what is the criteria, what are the standards, etc. So the conceptualization phase is done, but then we'll also include issues of training, and then I don't know whether Precious from capacity building is here, but those are the people that will be making use of, and then make use of branding, communicating. This is one of those initiatives right now by starting to undergo this process of having these kind of consultations with various stakeholders that are impacted, but then we'll also enhance our marketing strategy so that it can reach the targeted audience in a manner that they want to see and understand. That even at a national basis, we need to review the way that we market the program and see if does it add value, does it reach our targeted audience, do we need to make use of a logo, we want to have a logo for the region, maybe that's something we also include as part of the benefits, because it does create that competitive advantage. We'll then continuously pilot, so as a region, as much as we might sign in May, but we'll then have to have a phased out approach of implementation so that we do not really mess up the implementation. It's always a very good practice to implement in phases and in pilot, and this is in alignment to our own annual work plans and annual work programs where we say we'll be piloting with various administrations and continue to evaluate. So why is this program very important for the private sector? It allows them to communicate with customs directly. Maybe did talk about the predictability, because remember, if you know that there's a 99% chance that you will get your goods without them being intervened upon, without disruptions at the border, it gives you that you can then plan your consignment accordingly, and you can have an advantage against others. So we need to make sure that the program, the benefits are really, really peculiar, and they really add value when we compare it with other trade facilitation benefits you might be offering. It's very, very important. And then we also, and it's very important as well for the private sector, because once we sign the MRA, a trader that is accredited in Eswatini will know that when they move their goods to another country within SACU, they will still be expedited. And then when we sign with other regional blocks and other trading partners, they will know that even they will be expedited. And the program is also very much important for the region because of the various issues when it comes to oh, sorry, I'm in a wrong slide. Here we talk about the resources, colleagues, that are required. So basically, these particular resources, as I said, IT is very, very important. We need to make sure that our processes are automated. So even from a national perspective, see how can you automate your processes? How can you ensure that the application process is automated? How can we ensure that even after an applicant has has gone through the validation process, once they are accredited, you still maintain them from a particular system and manage them from a particular system, manage their queries from a particular system. It makes life very, very easy. Also, we need to have procedure manuals in place, so they should be documented, standard operating procedures, standard manuals, etc. And we need to have capacity, human capital and human knowledge. So training is very, very important. But not only training for what currently is, it requires that as customs officials, we continuously upgrade our knowledge on various issues that will impact trade facilitation, so that we can make sure that we give a program that is meaningful, make sure that we give a program that is moving with the time, that is moving with the trends. So we need to budget accordingly from a regional perspective and a national perspective, because you do need resources that are fully focused in the AEO functionality. You need resources from an IT perspective, from a training perspective, and marketing, all of those things. So we have to budget for the program. And it's very important for the region based on the indicators of trade facilitation. It supports also the concept of industrialization, and it allows that cross-border effectiveness that we're trying to build, and of course, partnership and cooperation between various governments and various countries within the same geographical area. And it does promote compliance of traders as well as safety and security. That is it from my side. Thank you so much.
PDP is a voluntary compliance management program. It aims at strengthening, strengthening a trust between ERS and the trading community. It also aims at rewarding compliant traders. On that one, maybe colleagues, if say maybe we can discuss the compliancy model. I think we all know the compliancy model, which talks about the behavior of the taxpayers that we have. Some of these behaviors, some of these taxpayers, they don't want to comply at all. And there are those, when given the opportunity not to comply, they don't comply. And there are those who are willing to comply, but they are failing. And as ERS, we need to assist those. And there are those who are always wanting to do the right thing. So those are the ones that we will reward, the ones who are always willing to do the right thing. So as we are saying that the program aims at rewarding compliance. It also aims at facilitating legitimate trade and also promotes mutual recognition between the member states. So our program at ARS was launched in May 2019 and also operationalized the same year, where 2 clients were accredited as PTs. Since then, we upgraded to the AEO compliance, which is the same as the PTP. The legislative provisions, it covers Section 64B of our Customs and Excise Act number 21 of 1971. This section this act was amended in 2016 after the ratification of Annex E of SACU Agreement. And we have mentioned before by Maggie that there is Annex E to the SACU Agreement on mutual administrative assistance. And this annex, it talks to electronic exchange of information, and it also covers the preferred trader program. Hence, Section 51B of our Customs and Excise Act, as amended in 2016, covers the issue of exchange of information, and the Section 64, it covers PTP. We also have the Kyoto Convention General Annex, and Chapter 3 of that annex, it talks of the special procedures for authorized persons, whereby it outlines the criteria and also the benefits that are given to the preferred traders or the authorized economic operators. We also have the same framework of standards. In this one, we have the Pillar 2, which talks to customs to business partnership. So that's the WCO safe framework of standard. It also assists in the PTP domestication in our legislation. Then let's go to the PTP criteria or requirements that should be met by our applicants before they are being accredited as preferred traders. Lisa covered some of these requirements. The first one is appropriate record keeping standards. In this one, our applicants are expected to comply with all ERS requirements for record keeping. What are they expected to do? As auditors, we have to be ensure that they do have internal systems and controls in place for ensuring that their agents submit declarations which are accurate to the ERS. And they must also have accounting systems in place that are consistent to the GAAP, that is General Accepted Accounting Principle. And their accounting systems, they must also provide a full audit trail for their customs activities. Still on the appropriate record keeping standards, the applicants are expected to have procedures in place that will detect any illicit or irregular transactions. The second criteria is proven record of compliance with customs and tax requirements. Under this requirement, we are expecting our applicants to have not been penalized or incurred any penalties in the past 3 years before they apply for the program. They must also have procedures in place to detect also any errors that have been committed by their agencies. The third criteria is sufficient customs knowledge. Our applicants are expected to have a personnel who has been trained on customs matters. They must know the customs legislative, the customs regulations. They must also be trained on ASCUDA, and they will be assessed before they are being accredited. And at least here the passing mark is 70%. So as auditors, whenever we're auditing, we have to check that there is someone who is knowledgeable with customs matters. We check their declarations, check if they have declared correctly the values, declared correctly the HS, declared correct the origin, etc., etc. And the last one is evidence of financial solvency. We are expecting our applicant to be solvent in the past 3 years. They should have positive net asset, meaning that their assets should be more than their liability. For us to accredit them, they should meet all these criteria. After meeting this criteria, then they are given their benefits. Once they sign the MOU, and they then able to enjoy these benefits. The first benefit is expedited import-export clearance. 2 of our border posts, they've got express counters, that is Lavomisa and Ngwenya. I hope I'm saying the right thing, though I'm sure of Ngwenya that there is an express counter there, which is being used by our preferred traders. And the other one is flexible inspection arrangements. It doesn't mean that if they are preferred traders, they are not prone to be inspected. If the BORA team suspects something, they can inspect those consignments. But then the applicant is allowed to decide on the site where to be inspected. So that's why we're having flexible inspection arrangements. And the other one is reduced nominal bonds. For goods that are coming through, the suspense procedures, for instance, temporal imports, goods on transit, the bonds there will be reduced, or they can be afforded the nominal bond. And there's the provision for the client relationship manager. This is another benefit that we have at ERS, whereby this CRM liaises with the clients and ERS. They also ensure that their queries are being resolved on time. So those are the 4 benefits. I know as ERS team, we will add to these ones to make the program more attractive. And then here is the accreditation process, which starts with pre-engagement and application. The pre-engagement is supposed to be done by the CRM, the benefits I mentioned prior that the CRM. They're supposed to market the program to the community, the trading community. They market it first, and then we as post-clearance audit, we take over. We submit to them the application forms, and which are accompanied by the self-assessment questionnaire and the understanding the business questionnaire. So the traders, the preferred traders, they are allowed to assess themselves. We just give them the questionnaire, and it's very lengthy. Once they complete it, they send it back to us, and we usually give them 10 days to complete the questionnaire. Once the questionnaire is sent back to us, we review it and check if it has been completed correctly. And during the opening meeting, when we have already started the audit phase, we discuss the self-assessment questionnaire with the client to ensure that whatever they have completed is what is on the ground. So the audit phase, it starts with risk profiling, which is done by the risk management unit. They profile the companies that have been selected. Those companies are being selected by that risk management unit. They then profile it and submit the risk profile report to the post-clearance audit unit. And the post-clearance audit unit will then sample the declarations that we're going to conduct substantive tests on them. During the audit, we conduct the systems-based audit, whereby we are looking at the systems of the client, the purchasing, the ordering, the receiving, and the payables. So we check if those systems are in line with customs legislation. After the systems-based audit, we then conduct the substantive test, whereby we have a sample of some declarations. The minimum number should be 25. However, in the new approach, we don't take that number. The numbers have reduced to reduce the time that we take when conducting our audits. Otherwise, at SACU level, the minimum sample size was 25. So we conduct the substantive test on those 25 declarations. We check for origin, we check for valuation, we check for HS, we check for quantity, we check for other elements of the customs. After the substantive test, we then present our findings to the applicant based on the systems-based audit and also on the substantive test. before we prepare our audit report. The report is then presented to the Review Accreditation Committee for validation. They check if we have followed all the process for auditing, if everything has been covered. So that's what the ARC does. And our report usually find that there are some inconsistencies that were discovered from the client's systems and from the substantive test. The allowance here is 5%. If maybe the errors are more than 5%, we then put the client or the applicant under the client improvement plan, which is CIP, and it has to be completed within 6 months. After the 6 months, we then go back to review if they have corrected those errors that were picked by the auditors. So once everything is in order, the Review Accreditation Committee then approves that PT client to be approved as a preferred trader client for the ERS. And then the signing of the MOU, which is done by management. After the signing of the MOU, we allow the participant to trade and enjoy the benefits that have already been mentioned. And after 2 years, then there is a monitoring process whereby we just pick a few transactions of the company and check if they are still compliant. If we discover that they are no longer compliant, the applicant will then be suspended for a period of 90 days, that is 3 months, and we will then monitor. But if we discover that they don't change their behavior, they are not correcting those errors, then we revoke. And all this is being done by our management. We have internal stakeholders who form part of the PTP, who make the preferred trader program to work successfully. We have the risk management unit, as I've previously mentioned, that they are the ones who select the cases for us. They also risk profile those cases. We have the PCA team. They conduct the test for the preferred trader, as mentioned before, the process for accrediting the preferred trader. And there is the Accreditation Review Committee, which validates the work of the audit team and the work of risk management. The Accreditation Review Committee comprises of Director Inland Ops, Director Operations, Director Communications, Director Border, Risk Management, Risk Unit, Risk Manager, apologies on that, and so on and so forth. I think there are about 6 of them who comprise of the Accreditation Review Committee. And there is management, who is responsible for accrediting the PT client. They are also responsible for revoking. They are also responsible for suspending the client if they don't comply with the requirements. We have the CRM, as I've mentioned, that they are responsible for marketing the program. They are also responsible for liaising with the taxpayer together with ERS. And we've got the border teams who facilitate those PT clients at the border. They make sure that they are given the status they deserve as our preferred traders. Current participants and regional target. Currently, we've got 2 clients that have been accredited. I think we all know them. It's Logical and EMI. And we've been given a target of 5 for the financial year by the region, of which we're still working on that one. It's unfortunate that the year has already passed, but we go to bed. The reason that we are unable to reach the 5 that has been given by the region is because some of the clients, they do apply for the program. Since this is a voluntary program, they then withdraw. During inception of the program, till now we had about 14 applicants. 4 they were invited by us as ERS, and 10 they applied for the program themselves. And then out of the 14, 7 returned back their questionnaires, but they then decided not to continue with the program since some were placed under the compliance improvement plan and they felt that it was too cumbersome for them and they withdrew. So that's why we are now having only 2 clients that have been accredited so far. Otherwise, the region is expecting us to have 5 accredited companies.
And what I wanted to share with the meeting was maybe some feedback, which I think maybe it's we can talk about it here as we anticipate the session with the private sector tomorrow and maybe the other external stakeholders. During the session that we had, and I'm sure Mark is also going to help me on this one as well. During the session we had last week, Wednesday, the business community that we engaged with, you know, they showed some excitement, you know, with the program. But I think we should already prepare because we already have what is in their mind. For example, there is this very issue that they are still recovering from the effects of COVID. So when you look at the criteria, they find it like it's a steep hill for them. For example, you talk of one not having been penalized maybe in the past 3 years, which they say, okay, we need also maybe to look at our processes at times, because sometimes we penalize them for small things. So if in the event they were penalized, then it means definitely they are out of the program. So we need to look into those issues, number one. The second issue they raised is in line with the evidence of financial solvency. They are all indicating that, you know, COVID has affected a lot of them in terms of, you know, even they've defaulted, say, in the banks, you know, they've defaulted in the banks, they have, even with the ERS, their compliance has been affected somehow because of all those issues around COVID. So for them, they are saying, with all those issues left unattended, then definitely they just disqualify. I mean, for the program, there is no way, because the group that we were engaging was mainly first big, you know, the small, medium enterprises, not even the bigger enterprises. And of course, we know that even at regional level, they do promote participation of small and medium enterprises in this program. So they have this peculiar, you know, they have these peculiar problems that they have, that they are saying, yes, we love this, we would love to participate in this program, but here are the issues. When we come to the issue of customs, about knowledge about customs rules and regulations and so forth, they are also saying, okay, we need training. And the kind of training that we need is people should come to our premises, like First Week was saying, let them come to our offices. Okay, they did tell us that they've decentralized, so they have offices in their regions. They say the reason why they want ERS to come to their premises is because they are still trying to, I don't know which word I will use, trying to get out from this fear of taxpayer, of the tax, or fear of ERS, because they were really, we were kind of a monster. So a lot of businesses kind of fear us. So they say if we do all these things in their comfort of their premises, it's like we are building new relationships, because the AEO is also about building relationships. So they are saying, let's give each other a chance to build new relationships, as we build to this, bigger problem. Programs like the AEO, we need maybe to start somewhere, which is very relevant to, to the program and stuff. So, Chairperson, I'm sorry for speaking long, but all I want us to do is really to try to structure, as as we go, as we prepare maybe for tomorrow's session and Wednesday's session, we structure in such a way that how can we say AEO is possible even in coming out from COVID, AEO is still possible for you. I hope maybe you are getting what I'm saying, but otherwise, thank you very much to Maggie, to Belisa, to Ngeti for these wonderful presentations and all the information that you have shared with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Bernard, you want to ask a question that in terms of the traders who say the requirements are cumbersome, is there anything ERS is doing to consider the specific concerns? This could help to improve the process and uptake. Yes, in response to saying that we are adopting a new approach whereby we have reviewed the validation process and we have also reduced the transactions to be tested.
Thank you. So I think maybe one would take liberty or build from what Ngeti is saying to say maybe some of the things that we would look into, as Bubu has mentioned, is the issue of penalties, because I believe that we had said we need to start categorizing even the penalties so that we don't just say if you have been penalized, but we look at the penalty in the aspect of what was the nature of the offense. So if it was not one that we say is a major offense, so what is the threshold for major, between major and minor? Because if we make those distinctions, then it will show that we are really opening up to say, let's make room to grow together with the clients. And I recall that when the Commissioner made her opening remarks, she mentioned the issue of compliance improvement programs. So the compliance improvement program is really where we say a client that has indicated commitment to the program. They've gone through the whole process of the validation, but we find that there are certain gaps in terms of them meeting what we call is the basic qualification criteria. We then sit together to say, okay, so these are the gaps or the issues that we are noting, and let's move together. We give ourselves timeline to say, if we can address A, B, C, and D, we will come back and do a review and then admit the client into the program after allowing them that opportunity to self-correct the areas of concern that may have been picked up during the validation process. So I believe the issue here is really commitment on both sides. As the ERS, our commitment is to say, let us help the client to comply. I like the pitch that Ngeti did of talking to the compliance triangle that we are using under the CRM to say, our role as the ERS is to say, if we identify someone who is struggling to meet our requirements, let's understand what their issues are and then help them to grow.
It's not necessarily that we want to shut them out and say, no, you are simply not living up to the standard that we are looking for. So the compliance improvement plan is meant to address or accommodate such issues. I don't know, colleagues, whether there are questions or further comments.
Thank you very much, Precious. Mine is just an intervention. I was checking the benefits that the ERS has to offer to the private sector, to the business, and I think I want to share the same sentiment as the CJ this morning. He emphasized the importance of the refund. And this is also the same with other customs administration I've observed. They are bringing in this emergent benefit, and it's very critical to the business. I think Ms. Gugu mentioned about the financial insolvents. So I think maybe something that you should consider. And we know that the benefits for AEO are not static. They should be congruent with the change in the business environment, and we need to review as we go on. And maybe on the issue of cumbersome process, also something that we need to consider. And you had mentioned that you normally sit and see what are the issues that you can address coming up from the business point of view. I think it's something that to consider, to pinpoint them and see how you can address them, because it will not help if we have an engagement like this and we have a process which is cumbersome and we do not address or have a plan to address this issue. Yeah, so I think those are my two interventions. Thank you.
So, colleagues, I just quickly wanted to do this presentation for opportunities based on the feedback and the questions that came through, also from school, which was talking about issues of how to deal with financial solvency, not bankrupt proceedings, but how to deal with certain aspects. So that this presentation will basically be talking to that. I wanted to highlight this. This is based on a research I was doing when I was looking at various customs administrations who have a high number of uptake in their AEO programs, and looking at specifically those not just with high, but with high, however, they only started their program or reporting on it from 2016. And I wanted to highlight what are the key things, what are the variables that I'm seeing, things that keep popping up as we're doing the research. So one of the things that I've seen is the issue of high political involvement. And this is very important, not political from a government perspective, but also from a national perspective and from an administrative perspective. So when we start to talk to the concept of single government, AEO, we need to understand what is the political landscape, what is the existing relationships between other governmental agencies, and also the level of involvement with customs administration's AEO programs. There were countries, for example, when they're having their what is it called, Trade Appreciation Day or Tax Appreciation Day, you would have maybe the president or the minister of finance coming to give the AEOs, certificates of appreciation, so that improves the uptake. So depending on what we have currently in ERS, those are the things that we can consider to say, what kind of high level involvement can we bring to market the program for our behalf, using the tool that you have, the two accredited traders that you have. How can you use the political landscape and the support from leadership, not only from a government perspective, also from the customs administrative perspective as well. Stakeholder integration refers to working with entry stakeholders inbuilt in the AEO program. So it's very important that as you are expanding the program, you have what is it called, working groups that involve the private sector. So you integrate them in the development of the program. Inclusivity, so we need to make sure that the program, as I was saying, it involves SMMEs, it involves kinds of economic operators so that they can expand. So you can consider saying, if you're expanding the program now, you can take the two clients that you have, look into their supply chain, and you bring them in. Then that's the first step that you will take in expanding the program. And then I've spoken about the whole government approach as well. Technology. They use technology to manage the processes of AEO. The application process is done, in a system. Everything is done in a system. The management of the client is done in a system, and publication. Okay, so this is the SWOT analysis that I was also updating as the previous presenter was also talking, and I was identifying opportunities from what I was listening to. Unfortunately, we can't see the presentation here online, but I listened and I tried and capture as much as she was talking. With starting with our strengths, I'm very happy that there's very high level of commitment from Eswatini Revenue Service. That's very important, and it is there. We see it. We see even now the activities of the commissioner. So that is very, very good. It's a strength. I'm also very happy that there is a compliance program that is legislated. I think it's not only compliance, I know it's safety and security as well. And then I said the safety and security, the policies, maybe that's what I should clarify. The policies are in draft for safety and security. I was very excited when I heard that we've got an AEO counter in certain areas, so that is a strength. Well done for the program. And that you do have compliance review mechanisms after a client has been accredited. So that's also a strength, and with the signed MRA, and there's opportunities to sign more MRAs, obviously. So weaknesses, after I've spoken about weaknesses, then they become our opportunities. So we need to make sure that the implementation of the program includes safety and security. So it's great that it is there on legislation. That we need to make sure we start piloting it so that we include safety and security, because then that will allow you, as you are starting to as you're starting to engage more OGAs, you're starting to engage other countries for MRA, at least you've got the safety and security requirements. As I've said, publication, there's not much out there about ERS AEO compliance program, so we need to put it even more. It's there, but we need to do more in putting the word out. So, because remember, the more people read about it, the more people hear about it, even on social media platforms or wherever, then they will be more interested to understand what it is about, and we need to make sure that then all economic operators participate. Opportunities, there are various opportunities. We need to look at the application forms. As I've said, my preference is that I would be very happy if you considered to automate the application process. Even from a SaaS perspective, it's still done manually now, but we've started the process of trying to automate it. So if you can learn from us the mistakes that we've gone through, rather you avoid them completely and not repeat the same mistakes that we did. You try and look at your application forms and see if there are no repetitions in those application forms, because there are some questions that are still going to be asked in the self-evaluation questionnaire. And I know that may be because when we started, we looked at a particular country, but then we have to evolve. As I'm saying, we've also learned some of the challenges, and we're trying to make sure we move away from it. So maybe it's important that also you don't go through the same mistakes that we did. So let's just make sure that the application form is asking who is the applicant, their details, what level of accreditation they want to apply for, do they give consent to sharing of information, and it ends at that. And then you can then go into detail with the self-evaluation questionnaires. And as we expand the program, then we'll develop self-evaluation questionnaires for different economic operators. I did promise that we'll also share the ones that we're developing in South Africa to the region, so that when we're finalizing our manuals, we can see if we can also adopt those and then take into consideration different national risks. Consultative forum is another platform that we can consider. So instead of going to trade to tell them about the program, but we must co-create with them. We must have a working group with them where we're validating, where we're looking at the process of application. And this is also in accordance to the Safe Framework of Standards. When you're looking at the standards or customs to business partnership, they will say, I think there's about 6 standards. They talk about partnership, where clients must self-validate themselves, and then they also talk about authorization. In authorization, basically it's saying both the private sector and customs must design the validation or must design the program. So we also need to adopt the same nationally and regionally as and when we implementing this. I've spoken about automation, change management. Sorry, it's very, very important because we need to move away from that concept of the manner in which we would have done everything in the past, including understanding the program. So the review of language. Now that one is very, very, very important. And I was also listening to the presentation as well, and the one that was just done now. So benefits, we need to review the benefits that we put. I think from a legal angle, in the way that we put it in our legislation and in the SOPs, that's fine. And I liked how you will say client relationship manager, and then you define who is the client relationship manager, what must they do, blah, blah, blah. That's brilliant. But now what we need to do is when we're marketing the program, we write the benefits in a manner that will add value, that will mean something to the applicant. Solvency versus financial viability. So when we use the word financial solvency, it makes people think that they must come to ERS and prove that their solvency rate is 90%. But what we want to tell them is, are you viable? Will you be? So small things such as that will have an impact. That question that says some clients that were negatively impacted by COVID, yes. So the SAFE, the WCO Safe Framework of Standards also say financial viability will have to determine that based on, are they able to operate in the foreseeable future? But the Customs Administration is responsible of ensuring that we test, we take into consideration, the economic conditions, we take into consideration things such as impact, such as COVID. As we know, when COVID hit, most people did not operate for a while. We were locked down, so that impacted in their finances. So we need to say, yes, now you are operating at a loss, yes, but what do you have? So maybe you might have parent companies to assist, or there's a turnaround time, there's a turnaround strategy of some sort, or you require more, you sell more shares, whatever the case might be. The client will then tell us, yes, we signed a financial statement because we see that this program this company will be operational in the foreseeable future. These are the turnaround strategies. We might have this loss now. We might have a low ratio of debt versus assets, but these are the plans. Hence, we must make use of the terms financial viability rather than solvency. Validation versus audit. So audit means going to it goes back to that aspect of saying, I am here to audit you. Did you meet these requirements? But validation is saying, I am here to validate that you are meeting the requirements, and in the process, I will help you with the CIP. That then suggests we need to move away from transactional methods of doing things. Initially, yes, we spoke about the 5%, and I know we have to go back then as a region and relook at the manuals. But within that error rate, you might find that the number of users are very high. Maybe it's because we're dealing with an industry, maybe such as the clothing industry, that will, they bring in goods in a quantity, what do you call, the quantity is very high, and they estimate the number of packages, and then once the goods have gone, they have to go back and amend the VOC. So I'm going to say, because the VOC rate is high, they're not compliant. No, you can't. We have to be very holistic in how we are viewing them, not just look at the transactionals. We need to look at the impact. Hence, I'm saying, if you recall in the presentation that I made, we spoke about measurements and analysis. Maybe as a region, we can consider bringing in that particular criterion to AEO compliance as well, so that it will allow traders to also validate themselves. And then we will move away from doing transactional audits, but we rather do validations, taking into consideration the validations they have done, taking into consideration some of the overview, holistic approach that we need to take when we're validating. Also, you mentioned for financial statements that not financial statements only, but also for reporting purposes, we're making use of GAAP. We can consider moving to IFRS. It stands for International Financial Reporting System. So it's a new accounting. It's no longer new anymore. But it's adopted internationally. So there are applicants out there that majority will make use of this international financial reporting standards as a way of reporting. So maybe let's review that to say, from Eswatini's perspective, what is the acceptable reporting standards? Is it still GAAP or is it IFRS? And then we amend accordingly. If it's still GAAP, then we're all good. I'll talk about marketing in the next slide. There's also an opportunity once you've incorporated in security, then there will be an opportunity for MRAs. And then please inform or update what is it called, the WCO's AEO online compendium, because when countries are looking at potential MRA partners, they will start saying. So if they see that, okay, even though you might have a country that you're trading with highly, and you might be interested in doing an MRA with them, but if they go to that and they see that you don't have an operational program or whatever the case might be, they might not be really willing to listen to you. So it's important that we update there as well. And then the threat is we need to look at the benefits. We need to test if we are delivering on those promised benefits, because you might find that the problem is not necessarily the benefits. The problem is that the existing benefits are not fully implemented. So we have to test them and look at the benefits that you are offering. Are you offering something different than what you're offering normal traders? And is there an opportunity to improve on that? For marketing strategies, I just wanted to show you, this is something that is done by Australia. So here, this is a client that is giving their testimony in the website to say, I'm an AEO trader. Yes, they will talk about their business. Then they'll say, I'm an AEO trader. I am basically enjoying this benefit, and you must come and join the program. So it works better when it's coming from a word of mouth rather than only customs promising these things. Here, I just wanted to show in South Africa how we track the benefits. So we asked them, we've got the 7, I don't remember, 8 benefits for AEO compliance and a number for safety and security. So we test them for each benefit. This CRM, are they courteous? Are they professional? Do they help you? Do they understand your business? Do they help improve your compliance? So we ask all of those questions. We get the good and the bad, and we take the bad and we try and improve. Also with the, for instance, when we say we're going to expedite their value determination, if they are saying they are not expedited, we have to go back to the drawing board with the department that deals with value determinations to see how we can improve. So you must track for your two traders that have been accredited. Do a survey, check with them. How do you find the program, the benefits that we promised you? Are they working? They will highlight things for you to say, no, this is not working. You can also ask them about that the desk that you have in your, I don't know that they post or where it is, but ask them if it adds values. If they say yes, 100%, you use that feedback in your marketing information to say 100% of our traders find value in the AEO desk, and you wouldn't be lying because you've got that in the survey. And you would use the good for your marketing, the bad for you to try and improve. And then you must provide them with feedback to say, we looked at what you said, we've tested it, and this is what we are then going to try and improve on going forward. As you can see here, we're trying to show from 2020 to April 2021 to October 2021. We must look if there's an upward trajectory. If there isn't, we need to ask ourselves, why are we going backwards? What is the issue? Then we need to deal with that. And here you see the client was complaining about, yeah, timelines are not followed, and especially when the police is involved, then it tells us we need to continuously engage SACs to see if they can join the SGAEO based on this. Resources, please, definitely you need in the AEO team or the team that deals with AEO. We need to consider having resources that will be focused on AEO. So we're having the validation team that will be focused on AEO. Remember I said I want you to sort of not repeat the same mistakes that we did. At some stage in SARS, we had a team that was reporting in the AEO fashion or in the AEO division that was doing validation. And then we decided, no, let's put them in one area. Then they will do PCA, they will do transactional, they will do all kinds of audits, including AEO validation. But what then that did, it meant that there's a lot of dependency. So sometimes you might find that I've got a KPI that says you must accredit 20 by the end of the year. But I can't accredit 20 because the same resources that must look at the validation for AEO, they must still go and collect revenue. So that resource, when they are given the job, they will look at, okay, this one is AEO, but this one is got potential. I'm going to go with the one for potential revenue so that I can meet my KPI. Or I'm going to use this one for people for AEO and try and get revenue there. So they don't finalize AEOs on time because they want to get that revenue. So it might be important that you build a unit that has got validators that will then focus on AEO, and it's inevitable that when you're looking at validations for AEO, they might also bring in revenue, and that would be your revenue protected, but the focus of the AEO validators will not necessarily be on revenue, but it will be on improving compliance, on improving safety and security. So you'll build their KPIs accordingly. So if we need to budget those resources in that manner, you can please consider that, because as I've said, it helps or it works. So that example that I made with SARS, so we then made a decision that we're going to rebuild our capacity internally. So now we've got 10 validators that we we recently, we appointed 5, and then we appointed another 5. So we're trying to build that capacity internally. The risk management capability as well, it's important because I'm not sure what is the structure in the ERS, but you don't want a situation where remember the resources that are there for risk are not only there for AEO, they are there for the rest of the organization, and there are various, there's that compliance philosophy that was shared in the previous presentation. So you want a risk that will look at those clients that want to comply, rather than mixing clients that want to comply and those that do not want to. Then you're expecting that same resource to do a risk profile. They have to have a way where they are focused in assisting and in determining the risk of AEO. So again, it all depends on SLAs that you might have, but you might consider building that functionality internally. The marketing capability, I know as customs officials, this is not our thing. We're not very good here, but you build that relationship with communications, and they will help you come up with adverts, with what to write on social media, all the things all the gimmicks that they know. But we will just tell them, I want to have this program known in this country. I want this program to be known in this space. These are the targeted audience, and then they will work up the rest for you. They will do the communication plan with you as long as you identify your key stakeholders. And then I'm very happy that there is a compliance tracking mechanism, and then you build more on that because you want a situation where you've got indicators that will help you to determine, that will help you, because remember, some internal stakeholders will say, but why are we always not stopping these traders? How do you know that they are still compliant because we only did an audit 3 years ago? But you can then say, but based on these indicators, we're sitting at 85% compliance level, so I'm happy. Then you can build that instead of always going back to the client, revalidating, or just letting them alone completely. We have to have a balance. Then the last one is publication. We have to publicize your program, please, to the rest of the world so that they know. So there are many people that will write articles, even for the OECD. Normally they go, as I've said, they will go to that compendium and check, and then they go back to their websites and they write to say, okay, in Southern Africa, these are the countries that have got operational programs, these are the numbers. But if your information is not updated, then they will assume that there's nothing happening in your respective countries, and then there's an opportunity for you to seek more MRAs for intent, because the more MRAs you have, the more clients will want to participate, because even your SMMEs, they will say, okay, here's an easy way of gaining or of reducing costs when I'm trying to export my goods. Then you find them, applying, etc. So basically, that is it. I hope I've covered some of the questions that we're talking to. How do we look at the issues of financial viability, as well as other mechanisms we can consider for expanding or for increasing the number of uptake. And the other most important thing, when you are engaging internally, you can also do surveys as well to understand or to establish if your internal stakeholders know about the AEO program, they know what to do when they're getting an AEO consignment. Do they have the appetite to even refer traders to AEO? So really, for the program to be effective, it really depends on the rest of customs. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
So what are the opportunities that we can explore to do that? Communicate that message from the benefits of the client's perspective in all our interactions with clients, which is why we are really going to request for the advocacy of our CRMs and all the customer-facing teams that we have, even the ones at the border, to say, let's market the program and tell them about the benefits of participating. Then secondly, we said awareness is really low, even internally. There is not much visibility on the program, so we need to amplify the volume on that. The opportunities here are that maybe starting at a lower level, we have the Customs to Business Forum, which we need to communicate such initiatives. And then we also have the National Trade Facilitation Committee, where we have a wide representation, including that of private sector. If we talk about this program, then people will become more aware. And every time a client says, you know, I have an issue with ERS on ABCD, then the person could respond to say, but ERS is offering a partnership program. Why don't you join the AEO program? Because as a partnership program, they will understand your issues and structure the way in which the benefits that they are offering in the program in a manner that will respond to your needs. So those are the opportunities that we can use in order to increase the appreciation of the project and the program and the benefits. Okay, I will just not dwell much on the benefits in terms of what we had captured was low value proposition is also, and also the fact that most of them are really things that we set internally and identify instead of getting inputs from clients. So we have had quite a number of deliberations or contributions that relate to the benefits. So that's why I'm saying maybe we won't dwell much on those. And then we spoke about the validation. We have had more recommendations also from Melissa on this one in terms of how to make the validation process a little bit more friendly to the customer instead of daunting. Because when you give someone a questionnaire, even I am not really someone who is afraid of writing, but I always ask myself, why am I being asked to complete this part and this part and this part where the information is more or less similar, or I believe that the person could have obtained the information from elsewhere. So imagine now a client who has business to run, and then we are asking them to go through a long questionnaire, and then maybe they don't even see why they are being called upon to answer such questions. So our approach to the validation procedure needs to change, and so that's why we said here our opportunity is to use the available support from SACU. We have a champion who I believe we have heard how cognizant she is of these issues, and we also have modules. I think she showed us that even resources from the WCO are available, where we could also then be able to strengthen our capacity on validation techniques that we can use. So those are the issues that we identified. And then further on the KPI aspect of it, there are these issues. I think the first one is really saying the program says we are focusing on compliance, but as an administration, in order for us to continue to deploy resources to say, let's undertake this program because it is giving us the benefits that we want in terms of the compliance. So now this is the internal benefit to say we are driving compliance from this. But have we structured any KPIs? Have we defined anything that we say we took on this client, they were at this level, in terms of compliance, and we are seeing improvements? I doubt that we are tracking that, so then it becomes difficult to then have a business case or a point for motivating to say this is indeed delivering value even to us as an administration. So those are the things that we then need to work on. So below these 3 points, we have noted that if we can have clear KPIs that will enable us to share information on what the status was at the beginning of or at the point of enrolling a client, and as they gradually mature in the program. so that we can then be able to demonstrate that there is actually an upward trajectory from the way in which they are conducting their business and meeting our requirements as an administration. Then they will present a solid case to say the program is actually working for us, even as the ERS. And then also we said that we are noting the fact that our competency framework is really looking at mostly on the performance or behavior of the clearing agents. And it may not be benefiting the client themselves in terms of improving their competency internally to deal with issues that where they interact or relate with the ERS. So we said we will have to look at how we can socialize and administer that competency assessment to specific resources within the clients so that they can then be able to eventually grow to a point where they are holistically responsible for managing their tax and customs issues, and they have been validated by us to say you have met that competency level that we had set. And then the second aspect is that the program, we are saying that it is based on the pillar which says we want to strengthen or build partnerships or mutual relationships between customs and business. So what makes a relationship grow? It is continuous communication. So we have that good standard on the procedure which says once we have accredited you, you will be given information, we will constantly communicate with you on initiatives and things like that. But what we have seen is that as we progress, maybe at the beginning of the accreditation, one would sort of like be regular in terms of communicating with the client, but after a while, we then sort of like just drift apart from our clients. So we then need to address that, and in line with the structure or the positioning that the organization is now, or in line with how the organization is now structured when it comes to taxpayer engagement. We are saying the key resources here who needs to be capacitated are our client relationship managers as well as the border teams, so that at their level of interaction with clients, they can constantly be checking also on issues that are related to the accreditation status. Are you getting the support and assistance that you need? Are you seeing value in the benefits and things like that? So if we have such KPIs, then it will help us to be holistic and deliberate also in terms of managing the program. So those were the issues that were noted as gaps, colleagues, and I think then for the benefit of our SACU colleagues, we said that some of these things have already been touched on, and we are going to then structure or rather propose clear motivations for interventions and support that will address these three aspects: the creation of awareness and communication, the upskilling of new team members, as well as also advocacy for the passing of the legislation, which is now going to be broader in terms of addressing the other aspects of safety and security, which will enable us to have those two levels of the accreditation. So those are the areas which I believe we are going to then have a conversation with the SACU team so that we can see how we can then get the support towards building these areas.
On the point of AEO being inclusive, are we with the qualification criteria we have, in trying maybe to accommodate the SMMEs, to what extent can we somehow relax the criteria or maybe tailor suit to the SMMEs so that they can be able to enroll in the program?
Thank you, Elsie. Phil, may I put you on the spot on this one? Sorry, I know that Teresa has joined the other session.
Yeah. All right. I'll probably just give respect to the regional level what we are trying to do with the champion together with the AEO experts. We are trying to develop an SMME package because we know that SMME have difficulties. They have a lot of problems. They are operating informally, and most of their systems are not at par with the requirements or minimum requirements. So we're trying to be flexible to accommodate them. And that's why we are developing an SME package that is in the checklist of our program.
Absolutely. From my side, it's just it's a comment, and I'd just like to thank Eswatini Revenue Service for the job well done. Of course, there's still a long road to traverse, to be able to attract a lot of clients. But this is a journey that you have started, and just a word of encouragement to say, you should not drop the ball as soon as we leave, especially the customs colleagues that are working on this. If you can support the commissioner here, and also, ensure that where there are gaps, these gaps find their ways into the regional program. So that at least now we have seen and we can now be certain where capacity building support needs to focus. So Precious knows and all other colleagues that are in the Customs Modernization Program, that on an annual basis we identify areas that require capacity at the regional level. So these areas that have been identified here today, we are going to then make sure that some of those find their way in our capacity building plan at the regional level. So well done to Eswatini Revenue Service. Thank you very much. All the best.
I thought maybe we could also mention the issue of lack of a dedicated unit, which also links to the issue of the non-visibility of the program, because, and of course I say this with caution, because we have been saying maybe we're a small country, maybe we don't need a dedicated unit, maybe we could have a workaround about it. Maybe we may start thinking about, do we really need a dedicated unit for this, as we discuss maybe the gaps as well. And then the other thing, I think Palesa also touched on the issue of expanding to other economic operators. I think we have been focusing maybe on importers. I've not seen some attempts where we speak maybe to clearing agents and maybe other players in the supply chain as well. I think that's maybe another gap that is here. And then also the information gap, the knowledge within the business community themselves. We struggle with international customs issues. how much more about them as well. So we may also need just to go back and engage them over and over. I don't know how many times, and also just note that we may also need to simplify in line with what Louida was saying. I don't think we can use the same approach that maybe we use for businesses. But when we engage now with FirstPick, we may need to simplify the material. We may also need to try and simplify, the program itself, and and all those issues that we may need to consider. I think these are really the basics, over and above maybe some of the high level, gaps that we are talking about. We need just to go back to these basics as well. Thank you.
Let me thank everyone who has been in the session here today, here present and also virtually. I guess each one of us, as I indicated at the beginning, that as we leave this room, each one of us will have gained something. And Precious has indicated that this is not the end, but it is only the beginning. So as we move out of this room, can each one of us just ask him or herself as to what is my role? What do I have to do for us to push this program forward? What is it that I have to do? And let's just set our own targets as individuals to say, this will be my contribution towards this whole program. For any questions or any contributions that we may want to make, let us feel free to contact Ngeti's office or even Precious, because she is leading the program by virtue of her being the manager for post-clearance audit, as well as also all the other, they're smiling. They're smiling, the post-clearance audit team members. So let us get in touch, let us learn more about this program. I know that some of us may have questions, but unfortunately, time is not permitting. But this is not the end, but only the beginning. If we do require, say, maybe another session to deliberate further, that can be organized. May I also thank the presenters, all the presenters today. Well done, and we do appreciate the efforts that went to all the preparations, as well as also from our colleagues from the SACU Secretariat. Thank you very much. May we therefore enjoy our lunch as we go out, and in the afternoon, let's start thinking about what we'll be doing to make sure that this program is a success. We've been having 2 accredited taxpayers or traders for the past, I don't know how many years. Let us set our targets and make sure that in SACU we have a target of 5, and let us exceed that target as we pursue this as a team. It cannot be done by 1 or 2 people, but we can reach the target if we work as a team. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Specifically for this program to succeed, we do need to work together. Being an non-customs person, I've said this program is about developing trust. It's about us coming together to define what trust means to us, so that we can trust our traders, so that we can also trust the neighboring countries, who are our trading partners. And then we expect that with us trusting each other, trusting the trader, trade will be facilitated. Because indeed, also part of our objective is to facilitate legitimate trade. So legitimate being the word that I will underline there, because you also want to ensure that what comes into the country is legitimate, consignments. So our interests do converge there. So let me then ask you to apply yourself, make your contributions as you go on with the program under the supervision of, or under the facilitation of our friends from SACU. Let's work together, apply ourselves, and then I can assure you that out of this session, we'll be following up on whatever recommendations that you will make under the LTFC, and see to it that we realize the benefits that we also wish to realize. So with those few words, ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you again.
Ladies and gentlemen, the genesis of the AEO program is the World Customs Organization revised Kyoto Convention, the safe framework of standards, with the 3 pillars that promote and provide guidelines and standards on customs to customs cooperation, customs to business cooperation, and customs to other partner agencies. In 2017, Eswatini ratified the WTO, World Trade Organization Trade Facilitation Agreement, which also puts an obligation to the country to implement the AEO program. After assessing the economic benefits to be derived from this program, the South Council of Ministers prioritized this program together with IT connectivity, where Eswatini and South Africa piloted the data exchange in the region and globally. Ladies and gentlemen, Eswatini continues to participate in the SACU trade facilitation agenda, including implementation of the AEO program. Though the journey has not been easy, as we currently have only 2 accredited operators, we hope and believe will increase the adoption of the program following these joint efforts between Secretariat, member states, including Eswatini. The implementation of other trade facilitation initiatives have posed a threat to the program. Benefits that were meant to be introduced with the program for the accredited economic operators came freely with a general trade facilitation agenda. One good example is deferred VAT. This then means we need to design more attractive benefits and aggressively promote and market the program. I, however, received very positive feedback that the sessions we've had this week have kind of reset the team and gave new strategies and approaches towards increasing adoption of this program. Ladies and gentlemen, building upon initiatives such as the coordinated border management, SACU integration with other partner agencies, should shorten the journey towards realization of the single government AEO as recommended at regional level by the members. The National Trade Facilitation Committee appointed Business Eswatini to be the lead agency and champion this program. I am hopeful and confident that these 3 days will leave us with positive energy to restructure the program to a single AEO program, with more traders enrolling for the program, given that business owns this program and ERS, we are here to support business, and I've said and pledged that we actually work for business. We work for you. I therefore challenge us all in this session to prepare for the new journey with business and all the partner agencies. With these few words, ladies and gentlemen, please feel most welcome to the ERS, and let's engage towards building a better Kingdom of Eswatini through the AEO program. Thank you very much. This program exists in the various member states of SACU. It is indeed, I must say, a very fundamental element of the SACU strategy, which was approved by the Council of Ministers in June last year, which at the very top emphasizes the idea of SACU countries working collaboratively and collectively towards industrialization. Industrialization achieved through investment promotion and export promotion. That's one of the key pillars of that strategy. That's been approved by our member states. Related to that, one of the signature initiatives is the initiative of trade facilitation and logistics, within which this AEO program that we're talking about today falls. It's part of that trade facilitation and logistics program. It's a signature SACU-wide initiative, a program intended to achieve the very idea of industrialization within the region, because it is only through deeper integration of our countries that we shall be able to achieve that industrialization. And that happens practically on the ground through not only signing agreements that enable trade within the region, but only going further to deal with the actual logistical non-tariff barriers that I know that business in this room today know very much about as a major constraint to doing business in the region. Part of the SACU strategy also, which is still really intended to feed towards the whole objective, is to leverage on a great opportunity that I know that business in here knows very much about. The opportunity that is created by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, the AFCFTA. An agreement between African member states to focus like a laser on improving intra-Africa trade. As you can understand, if we as SACU are to take full advantage of this opportunity presented by the AFCFTA, we need to get our house in order, first and foremost. We need to make sure that our businesses in the region, yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, have a leg up when we come to competing with the rest of Africa. Consider yourselves as business in Eswatini, as the representatives of Eswatini, but not just Eswatini, but indeed part of the SACU team going to compete for those market opportunities out in Africa, for those business opportunities out there in Africa. The positive economic spin-offs from that need not be articulated. They're very much obvious. The job creation potential, economic growth potential, spreading your wings in terms of your businesses, not just trading with, but in fact even moving to go and locate through foreign direct investment in the other African countries. The prosperity opportunities are incredible. But then the point is, for a team to go into that tournament, that Africa-wide tournament, and conquer, and come back with a trophy, it has to first start at home, isn't it? We have to make sure that we prepare, and we prepare thoroughly at home. And in this context, at home is in Eswatini, at home is within SACU. We have to make sure that you are fit and proper and ready to go and compete on that continental stage. And when you get to that stage, if clearing the border takes you a very long time, and in business, as we all know, time is money, isn't it? If it takes you forever to clear your border, if it takes you forever to trade across borders for whatever reason, whether it be because of customs or even other government agencies such as immigration, health, and the police, and all other agencies that are there at the border. If it takes you long, we all know that by the time your goods land in Kenya, by the time your goods land in Senegal, by the time your goods land in Rwanda, they would come in at a premium. And they won't compete because time is money. So this accredited economic operator program is a very, very important program intended to make sure that the processes that you need to deal with, your engagement with the revenue services, is a pleasurable one. It's actually a contributor, it's a benefit, it adds value to your business processes, it adds value to your ability to compete in that continental stage, where you need to make sure that you hit the market at the right quality, the right quantity, at the right time, consistently. Because the stakes are higher when you get out there than when we are trading internally. And what you don't want is for ERS customs to be yet another headache, yet another loop for you to jump over in your doing business, but rather it should be a friend, and a friend indeed. I'm glad that we are now talking about Eswatini Revenue Service, rather than Eswatini Revenue that thing. Because I mean, we know if I'm an authority, really, what do I listen from you? I'm an authority, isn't it? But just by renaming ourselves, and I'm glad, CG, that you had the foresight. And indeed, I think it's not just a renaming thing. I had you here speak about the fact that you are here to serve. That comes out as a very positive message. That in fact is defined by even how the entire business is structured. The CG was saying this morning, we were at the TV station, that he has increased his number of what you call your support staff who deal with providing you service, your contact center staff who respond to your needs, from about 5, I think he said, to 18, just over the last year. And they say the taste of the pudding is in the eating, isn't it? It's not about the name. It's about now the substance, and the substance is coming out. And this is what ERS is, collectively and collaboratively with SACU, announcing and trying to promote today, that take this as an olive branch being extended by the revenue services to say, indeed, here we are, ready to provide a service, ready to partner, ready to add value to your business. Here is a system that says, if you are compliant, which means the revenue services wins, they can guarantee that there will be safety and security for the country, because what you bring in is compliant with the laws. But also they can guarantee that they collect the revenue to support the fiscus of the country and the sustainability of the economy, which is what their mandate is. Therefore, the revenue services wins if you are compliant. But then they flip it and say, if you are compliant, then we will provide you with a speedy, predictable, least cost business process where you are accredited to basically come to a border post and just clear the border procedures as seamlessly as possible. A lot of the processes that involve even verifications can be done at your premises, at your convenience. You will be audited once in a while.
through post-clearance audit, only to verify that you continue to be compliant. And compliance, of course, includes elements of demonstrating that you have the business processes to basically enable an audit trail to be created so that when they come, they don't also spend onerous times scrutinizing your records. That then means being compliant is actually you also being benefiting. So it's a win-win kind of arrangement. You know, as if you look at the principle underlying this system, you realize how much we are learning from, I mean, we being the public side and of business, be it ERS, the revenue authorities in the region, even us as SACU, driving this program regionally. We are learning a lot from business because business is very much attuned to the needs of its clients, which is what you do. That's how you make money, isn't it? What we are doing is basically taking a leaf and borrowing from your own way of doing business. A lot of the time we've tended to become command biased, where we think we have, and I'm going back to the idea of ERS changing its name from an authority to a service, and indeed demonstrating to be adopting programs such as this one that are aligned to that transformation. Because it speaks to the importance of being attuned to the needs of the clients. And the model that always I find very useful, and which I think underlies this program, is encapsulated in the word EAST, E-A-S-T, where E stands for, if you want human beings to adopt any behavior. And we are designing this AEO for human beings. We're not designing it for computers. If you want human beings to adopt any behavior, we advise, make it EAST. E for easy. Make it easy. The second part is make it, it's easy, make it attractive, right? Make it attractive. And I don't have to say much about that because attractiveness is about advertising, it's about creating awareness, which is why we are here. But more importantly, make sure that you will, as a client, derive some benefit out of it. It's one thing to say, you need to file your return, you need to fill your forms at the border, you need to basically do a pre-clearance and fill this or that form. It's quite another to then say, if you do it, here are the benefits. We're making it attractive. So this program is deliberately designed to make sure that compliance, in fact, becomes beneficial to you. And then we have, as part of the Easy East, we have make it social. Let's make it a trend. The young ones say, let it go viral. Because if it's social, if it's fashion, if everybody does it, you know us human beings, we flock like birds. We're like a herd of cattle. We also do follow the trends, isn't it? We also follow what everybody else is doing. And if we promote the bad thing, and if it's known that it's okay to not comply at the border, it becomes difficult for an individual to be compliant. And therefore what we're trying to do is harness that knowledge that trends actually do influence individual behavior. And therefore we implore you to join this program, not because you have to, but because it is attractive. It will make your business easy, it will make you competitive in terms of competing with the rest of your competitors in the market, both locally, regionally, and indeed Africa-wide and globally. It will grow your business. Lastly, it is time. Make it timely. Make it timely. So, as SACU, we see our role as, in fact, making this program even more attractive by building a SACU-wide accredited economic operator program. You now have the individual accredited operator programs in the various member states. What we are now focusing on is to make sure that we connect the various programs into a regional economic operator program. What that achieves is then for you to find it even more attractive to join the program, because the VIP treatment you will get from ERS is exactly the same VIP treatment you will get from SARS. Because SARS, ERS, RSL in Lesotho, BURS in Botswana, and NAMRA in Namibia have a mutual agreement to recognize traders that have been accredited in the various member states. So that if you are a Namibian trader accredited by NAMRA, the revenue agency in Namibia, and you come and trade with any other accredited or even non-accredited business here in Eswatini, then this VIP status you have been accredited and accorded in Namibia, you will enjoy the same benefits here. That is really the benefit of it all. And knowing how South Africa is a major economy in terms of regional trade, a lot of these depend a lot on SARS actually accrediting and according that VIP treatment to the various businesses in the other smaller states. And indeed, SARS is on board. They are part of the mutual recognition agreements that we are signing. So whether you are exporting or importing, you are assured to be enjoying these benefits. That is the further attraction that we as SACU are now, through an approval by the Council of Ministers, of a regional AEO program. The next leg of that will be to now do a third-party mutual recognition agreement where now SACU and East Africa join forces, and you now have accreditation of all SACU accredited business being accredited in East Africa, whether it be in Burundi, in Rwanda, in Kenya, in Tanzania. You will be enjoying the same benefits that you enjoy within SACU. As you can see, now this becomes a building block for the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. One step at a time. That is the vision. This therefore becomes a very important milestone. By this I mean the meeting that we're having here today, the sort of interactions we've been having over the last few days. And as I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I really wish to invite you and implore you to seriously consider joining the Accredited Economic Operator Program. Eswatini has 2 now. You have potential for way more. In Lesotho there are 10. And we know Lesotho is a smaller economy to Eswatini. But there are 10 accredited operators there. In Namibia they have 1, but when we had the same function yesterday, 2 pledged even at the function itself to join. So you can say practically they already have 3, but they're looking at 50 by the end of the year. Botswana has 3. South Africa has 159. For a total of what, 175 in the whole SACU region. We hope to increase those figures substantially. I hope when we get here next year, Eswatini will be boasting 50 accredited economic operators. Mr. Dlamini, nothing. We hope we'll be, and we should be seeing small and medium enterprises also joining in, women enterprises, youth enterprises joining in and being guided to be part of this program. It is only through that we can go to that Africa Cup of Nations, the Business Africa Cup of Nations, and come back with a trophy as SACU. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, greetings from the Secretariat of the World Customs Organization in Brussels. It is a great pleasure for me to send a message to the audience in Eswatini about the authorized economic operators. The WCO has been working with Eswatini Revenue Service, or ERS, for a long time in custom modernization and reform. One of the objectives of this cooperation is improving business environment, and it naturally requires providing greater transparency and predictability of custom procedures to business community as stipulated in the WTO agreement on trade facilitation. In this respect, I recall that in September 2020, Eswatini held an official launching ceremony of a national electronic tariff platform that the WCO helped to establish. I participated in the ceremony virtually to stress the importance of applying new technology in the digital era that would provide access to accurate and up-to-date information to trade operators. There, I felt the enthusiasm of the business community in joining the ERS's efforts to improve business climate. In a similar vein, the WCO continues to support the ongoing project that will introduce the use of electronic advanced rulings tool. Today, I have another honor of addressing the business community of Eswatini on how you could further contribute to enhancing efficiency of custom performance in facilitating and securing trade supply chains. Modern custom procedures are designed to assess risks associated with each cargo that crosses border to determine the way to ensure its compliance with the laws and regulations. Some cargo would be assessed low risk and cleared even before their arrival, while other cargo could be identified as requiring more documentary or physical checks. In doing so, Customs needs partnership with the business to enhance this risk management system to address not only fiscal risks, but also security and safety risks. There comes the concept of AEOs as business certified by customs administrations as compliant with the security and safety standards and considered low risk in terms of customs compliance as defined by the WCO standards. In return, customs could provide benefits to AEOs such as streamlined customs procedures, reduced inspection times, and other incentives. This partnership will considerably improve the business environment as it will not only make cross-border trade quicker, easier, and less costly, but also ensure safety and security of your economy. If one economy is afflicted with illicit trade that raises safety and security concerns, the investment climate would significantly deteriorate. Therefore, AEO programs has been widely implemented as the global standards to enhance facilitation and security of the trading system based on trust between customs and the business. The benefit of AEO program could be maximized when its scope is extended beyond the national boundaries and the network of AEOs support regional integration through mutual recognition agreements, or MRAs, of national AEO programs, leading to the regional AEO program. It is particularly relevant to landlocked countries like Eswatini, and in this context, I praise the efforts of Eswatini to start the implementation of MRAs. The Eswatini and the South African Revenue Services signed a joint action plan as well as the roadmap to a mutual recognition agreement in August 2021, and they are under phase 1 of the joint action plan where program comparison is currently taking place. I hope that this first MRA for Eswatini will be signed shortly and successfully. These efforts are in line with the objective of the African Continental Free Trade Area, or AfCFTA, that aims to create one market as MRAs will connect AEOs across borders. Last July, I was invited to the AfCFTA ministerial meeting held in Ghana to speak about the WCO support in this regard. During the meeting, I had the privilege to talking to Honorable Mankoba Kumalo, Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade of Eswatini, and agreed that the execution of FCFTA often relies on the sub-regional level to be more strategic for individual countries. Therefore, I'm glad to partner with the Southern African Customs Union SACU Secretariat, led by Executive Secretary Mr. Thabo David Kasip, to promote the regional AEO program. The WCO will continue to work with Eswatini in this respect, and it is already supporting the ongoing Mercator program to strengthen technical capacity for implementing trade facilitation agenda and AEO program. Leadership is key here, and the Commissioner General of Eswatini Revenue Service, Mr. Brightwell Nkambu, has been leading modernization of his service. Hopefully, he attracts business including micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises and female traders to join the AEO program. While we foresee the challenges facing the implementation of AEO programs in the region, including limited resources and capacity and increasing complexity of supply chains, I'm convinced that the opportunities that AEO programs can bring to Eswatini business will enhance the custom business partnership and regional integration for prosperity and stability. In the end, what counts is human resources in implementing international standards and using technology. Hence, the WCO provides training to Eswatini Revenue Service staff with a focus of improving professional knowledge and integrity. The theme that WCO chose for this year is relevant here, nurturing the next generation by promoting a culture of knowledge sharing and professional pride in customs. As I feel strong support from the government, I hope the business community of Eswatini sees the value in becoming AEO certified and working closely with the customs administrations to jointly support the sound and sustainable development of trade and economy in this young country. To conclude, the WCO remains committed to supporting Eswatini and the SACU region in benefiting from the global and regional trading system. Thank you.
It is a pleasure and honor for me to be part of this session that has been jointly coordinated by the South African Customs Union and ERS to engage and discuss with the private sector on the implementation of the Authorized Economic Operator Programme. I really appreciate this collaboration whereby the Secretariat is visible in extending its support to Member States towards the implementation of the AEO Programme. This demonstrates commitment to the resolution made by SACU Council of Ministers that the AEO shall be one of the flagship programs for driving the trade facilitation agenda in the region. It is also appropriately fitting that the ERS has internalized this regional strategic direction and is able to translate it into its operational context. As you are aware that the CG is one of the co-chairpersons of the Eswatini National Trade Facilitation Committee. It is evident that the theme has been identified for the context of the discussions today. Directs the focus of the AEO program to the benefits that can be enjoyed by the businesses and companies that choose to participate in the accreditation program. Such an approach is important for government and the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade as we continuously seek to remove hurdles and create an enabling environment for businesses to operate and thrive. It is for this reason that we are happy that the AEO program shall be implemented under the stewardship of the ENTFC. This makes it possible for the private sector to have inputs towards the formulation of value-adding benefits which can be incorporated under the AEO. I therefore encourage all who are present today to urge the associations, bodies, federations to which you affiliate to actively participate and contribute to the ENTF discussions, as this will make your voice to be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all still living under the negative effects of COVID-19 pandemic. The challenges this brought require that we really become proactive and adaptive. Let us make the best use of all avenues that are being opened, or even the ones who pioneer such initiatives to bring about change that will steer the economy back to recovery. We cannot afford to continue using methods that we were comfortable with prior to the COVID era. This includes changing our mindsets and being open to collaboration and building partnerships. The AEO is one such program, one such partnership program with a promise to distinguish the treatment of entities based on their willingness to walk the compliance journey with the regulatory agencies. This will bring benefits to you as business. I therefore urge businesses to use this opportunity today to understand the program, the program requirements, and to be able to qualify for the accreditation status, which will not just deliver benefits at country level, but also across the region, as this is a SACU initiative. In this way, the program will deliver a win-win situation for all. As I conclude, let me emphasize that as much as this program is positioned as a trade facilitation program, regulatory compliance is very important. And among these is tax compliance status. Without going much into that space, which is prerogative of ERS, the AEO benefits have already been stated and they are lucrative. However, they can only be enjoyed by tax-compliant businesses. I have been assured that the Eswatini Revenue Services is willing to assist entities who want to be part of this program to meet the qualification criteria for this program. With that, thank you very much, and may the Lord God Almighty bless you all. Thank you.
This program is indeed relevant and beneficial because looking at the performance of our economy, we want to see trade being facilitated. And if we have more clients who show this voluntary compliance, we are then able to reduce border congestion. And this then brings the benefit of reducing the related costs that a client would incur by having their goods stand or being kept for the longest time at the borders while we implement the controls. And also, due to the communication and close interactions that we have as we establish or build the relationships with our clients, we then capacitate the client to be able to firstly understand what the compliance requirements are. And once they have that understanding, we then rely on them to be able to manage their own internal controls and also be the ones who give us assurance that they are operating through supply chains that will not be used to introduce illicit goods in the country. And the overall benefit is that we see an economy that is going to thrive. There is improved productivity, and that improved productivity means a better livelihood for us as citizens of the country. I have spoken to compliance, and I now want to just briefly highlight what the criteria is, or the qualification criteria is that we look at, that we look at when we assess that this client is compliant. It's just 4 items. Firstly, we look at the track record that this client has with us. Do we see any serious or significant contraventions? If there are none, we then say this client meets the requirement of customs and tax compliance. And then the second part is that we also want to rely on this client to be able to accurately report on their business transactions to the tax administration. So we then test their systems that they use for managing commercial and logistics records. If they have a proper record-keeping mechanism, then we are happy that we can let go of the goods at the border. Any checks and balances that we may want to then verify, we will use the audit trail, because this client has a satisfactory system for managing their records. And then we then look at financial solvency or viability. Why? Because we offer benefits in this program that would sort of like lighten the burden while the client is still in the process of generating revenue through productivity. So we want them to be able that when we call upon this client to make payment of what is due, they should be able to do so. So this is why we are also testing financial solvency. And then we want a client who knows their customs business. Those are the critical requirements that we look for. And what then do we offer in return for these requirements? We are offering benefits that, firstly, I mentioned the issue of financial viability and the ability of a client to operate as a going concern, because where this client is engaged in operations that would require them to put up security, we can be able to waive the security or reduce it such that then they can then benefit by not tying up their finances on bonds and be able to use that money to generate more income for the entity. And I spoke of reducing border dwell times. We expedite our import and export clearance process for private traders by allowing them to access express counters, and also by lowering the risk rating that we attach to their declarations so that they can get through the border with minimum interventions from us. And these clients are offered a client relationship manager. The client relationship manager makes sure that our interaction with the preferred trader is really more constant and consistent. They get advanced information on issues that we will be introducing, and also where they have queries and concerns, the client relationship manager makes sure that these get resolved in the quickest way or shortest time possible, so that the client is not then engaged in trying to establish what it is that the ERS wants, and they just focus on conducting their business. We have also flexible inspection arrangements where we are saying we do have preferred traders, yes, and we don't want to intervene in their clearance process, but there will be instances where we need to sort of like control or verify certain things. Where this verification involves physical inspection of goods, what we then do is to allow this client to indicate whether they would prefer that we execute that inspection at their own premises, and then we facilitate and do that instead of stopping them like any other trader at the border. And we have been obtaining inputs, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of trying to enhance this basket of benefits, because we really want our preferred traders to feel that special treatment. So we have 3 components that are going to be added on the basket of benefits. The first one will arise from the fact that we have just at the end of March have signed a mutual recognition arrangement with SARS, who will mutually recognize our clients, the ones that we are saying we have verified their compliance and we have given them the accreditation status. They will then enjoy those two benefits, which is expedited import and export clearance as well as the flexible inspection arrangements. This will then mean that when you are at the border, it will not matter whether it's Oshuk or Wenya. A preferred trader will be preferred for by ERS as well as SARS. And we are also then trying to structure another benefit which will ease off the burden in terms of meeting import liabilities which are cleared through the deferred tax, the deferred payment account, where we are saying these clients, based on certain mechanisms that we are going to build in, if they have deferred their import VAT and they are due a refund from the ERS from their domestic taxes, we should be able to structure an arrangement which will allow them to set off. And I hope we did note the fact that the Secretary General for the WCO announced that we are also partnering or receiving support for implementation of an electronic advanced ruling platform. This platform basically is accessible to everyone because advanced rulings are something that we want clients to have. But for our preferred traders, we are again going to give them first line preference when it comes to them getting rulings on issues around classification of goods, valuation of goods, or any queries that relate to origin. So basically it means that if this client is a preferred trader and they want advice or they want to be informed as to how they should treat their goods under these three categories where we issue the advanced rulings, we will deal with their applications first. So we expedite their queries and then enable them to continue to trade. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, that is how we have structured the preferred trader or AEO compliance program within ERS. And thank you for your attention.
Everything that you said today was hitting a certain nerve, and you had it so spot on, and in a way, inspiring. You could make an excellent salesman, used car salesman. But also, secondly, you will be aware, yes, Precious was sitting next to me here. She was put here actually. And the first thing she said when she came, she said, "Why did they put me next to you?" She was aggrieved. That's why now they've moved here. That's why she's so happy, as you can tell. What she doesn't know, I'm accustomed to that. You know, everybody avoids me, you know. Even the people I love, they avoid me, like her. There she went. But it's very, very good to be here. And so, thirdly, I must mention this because I think it's profound, coming from the CGT, and we don't take it for granted. And I know that it's coming from a heart full of sincerity when he says, ERS, we work for you. And he means that, by the way. They never used to say that. And that proves it's become a service, what you are talking about. And when somebody says, I yield to you, then it gives you a certain obligation as well, a big obligation to also make good of that humility. When he says, I work for you, he says, you better start paying. You know? Basically, that's what he's trying to say. But he has this way of saying things, highly dignified, profound way, almost philosophical. And you can miss it if you're not listening, but I'm always listening. So I get that. what is it. But also what's interesting, and I'm telling you, I think I'm telling, this is the first time that Business Eswatini is telling about this concept. We have this thing at BE, it's called the TCW. It's actually tax confession window, which we started a few months ago. It's our way of partnering with ERS, and most of you here, including Precious, who ran away from it, is aware of some of the confessions I've brought here. So there is a tax confession window. If you want to use that service, please do so. And this has been inspired by the change of ERS. Do you know how many people have come to us to say, I have committed tax transgressions? Some unintentionally, and others because they thought they were smarter. And they're saying to us, we want to make good. Have you ever heard anything like that? I'm just trying to show you the transformation that's happening slowly out there as a result of you becoming a service. In fact, I have another confession today when I finish here to deal with the Commissioner General. And it's running into the millions, by the way. And we've already arranged the finance for payment. So I might be leaving a few millions there before I go away. Yeah, you can clap hands. But it's that saying, I think I trust the system now, that I can come out and confess, knowing that they will not punish me for confessing, and we can start a new path together going forward. Because I will tell you something, people who don't pay their taxes, okay, you guys, I've got a tax clearance, so I pay my taxes. Begrudgingly, of course, but I do it all the time because it's my responsibility. But if there's someone amongst you who is cheating, and cheating successfully, by the way, I'm not talking about tax avoidance. That's cheating legally. I'm talking about tax evasion, which is cheating illegally, right? And then the country's fiscus doesn't have enough funding. They will increase my taxes so that I end up paying more because I'm compliant, so that you continue not to pay. It's not fair. It is not fair. And it took me many years to reach that level of epiphany, to say, if I'm cheating, I'm actually making the ones who are compliant to pay more for my own transgressions. Now that's evil. So that's what we're doing. And the second thing that we have to point out, we've been actively involved in the National Trade Facilitation Committee for quite a while, and significant milestones were achieved through us. Okay, nowadays it's less active. And I'd like to make an appeal right here, right now, especially to the ministry or people all concerned. We have to revive that committee. You will all be aware, even though we didn't take the credit for it. The Oshu Quarterhouse was open 24 hours, in large part owing to our efforts as the National Trade Facilitation Committee. We're just continually punching above our weight. BE as co-chair, the Minister of Commerce also co-chairing, and ERS. And then all of a sudden, everything's just started waning for one reason or the other. And I appeal here, whoever has got the power, to revive this committee, because we need to open up on this border very, very quickly, 24 hours. We need to. This economy of ours continues to be in the doldrums right now. And with the increase in interest rates, it's going to continue to be difficult for businesses, costly to do business in this country. And we cannot afford to incur the costs as a result of hurdles and unpredictable bottlenecks of supply between border agencies. Right now, you must go to the ocean and see how it looks like. It's a total mess. And when at a time when our borders actually classified as almost #1 in Africa, and something has happened. Somebody has got to do something about it. But who? That's the question. And the thing is, why I love this program, Tabo, you're talking about, and why it speaks also to the National Trade Facilitation Committee's initiatives, is that you must remember, in every international trade transaction, usually there are about 3 or 4 parties involved, right? There's always the buyer, and then there's the seller, and then there's always the financier, and then there's the state, often represented by the taxman, the ERS. Those are 4 partners. And if you look at all the rules and trade protocols involved, they are predicated on the premise that the 4 parties do not trust each other. It's very true. When I import from this, I don't trust the seller that will fulfill my order to the exact specification. And the financier says, I don't trust him that he will deliver to you. But I can give a guarantee of payment when you receive the goods, everything is in order. And then you do that. And then there is customs. I don't trust you that what you are bringing in is what you declared you are bringing in. So I need to stop you. What do they say? Frisk you. Frisk you. That's what it is. Can you imagine 4 parties who desperately need each other, but don't trust each other? That's where the cost of doing businesses come. They come from distrust. Now this program here, it says, you know what? We want to cut all these costs because we want to work based on trust. But trust is earned. And once you earn it, we want to make it as seamless as possible, that when you're coming through the border, show your card, you go through. That's why we love it so much. But also we think this is probably, will pioneer a Tabo. We always talk about economic integration within SACU. We've been talking about the program for many years. Every politician in the church, we need economic integration. We talk, but I'm thinking you are onto something here. If we can drive this, amplify the message, and I'm talking to ERS here, make this topic trend, as you said, make it go viral every month. It's amazing how many businesses out there quietly, whom some of you don't know, are just compliant. They want to do the right thing. Poor companies. They are out there, but no one seems to recognize them. It's amazing when they come out, because now you've set up, this milestone of 50 numbers. I don't know if we get it, but we got to get the numbers in right now. And you can see the track record of them. Those who have committed tax transgressions, please, the TCW, tax confession window, be there. And I'm the high priest of it. I can't do any more damage than what we've done. So, given that scenario, I would think you're asking now to your question to say, what would we do operationally for the business in this country? It would cut costs of doing business in this country. We think it will expedite the free flow of trade, both in and out. And secondly, because now the system is more efficient, you will see SACU revenues going up, because most of our people trade within the SACU region anyway, and we encourage them, by the way, to always say, first preference, you must buy from the SACU customs union, and they do that. So with that uninterrupted, which means products will arrive on market on time, you don't want trucks there with perishable goods, slipping over. Perishable goods gets all the following day. So imagine that seamless crossing over. It will dramatically change this committee. And lastly, I hereby ask each and everyone who's within earshot of my words, can we take this thing and run with it together yet again? But this time, let's meet.
May I give Mr. Mavela Skwane, an opportunity to also give the perspective from VESPIC of this program.
Now, in our members, SACU, we're excited to note that Lesotho is already having some members who are accredited. We would like to be assisted to get those benchmarks immediately after this. We want to benchmark with those guys who are already ahead so that we can learn and quickly come in. We want to roll it out. Ever since ERS engaged us on this, we wanted to roll it out regional. So that at least by end of June, we can bring 4 members, meaning 1 per region, to come into the accreditation program so that we can at least benchmark with these 4 going forward. Then the rest will come in bit by bit. But we have women, we have the youth category within VESPIC, we have the disabled category who want to prioritize as well in this. We have the ones who have already been in the space. Our president, Mr. Tam Dupont, has been in business for several years. We'd like to have those guys like Bomalandule in the lobby investments in RES, who is doing haulage. We'd like to have some of those big guys and some in the forest sector to participate. But for us to do that carefully, we will definitely open ourselves up to say we do not know this program. We want to know this program. We want to get to the level where ERS will say, here is a woman in the market in Manzini, in the market in Tlatekulu, who is accredited in the program. Because those women, every Tuesday and every Wednesday, we have buses going in and out of the country. They are doing this import and export type of business. So we want to see those women accredited and want to see our disabled business people accredited in a very short space. If you look into our program, the strategic plan we have runs up to 2025. And as part of the strategic plan, which were assisted obviously by the International Labour Organization to formulate, has one key thing where we say we want to see the transformation of all businesses from the social and economic status on those spots. And we're happy about your East model, which you unpacked earlier. For us, we picked on the S for social and the time issue. So we definitely opening this up, business people, and please, let's assist ourselves as a country to ensure that ERS gets all the support which they need. ERS is coming Vusu was there, luckily for us. Vusu was there, he was still the communications person. But if you listen to his tone now and his tone then, there is a big difference. Round of applause to him. So colleagues, why am I bringing this synopsis into the party? I'm bringing this synopsis so that you can appreciate and acknowledge this program which has been presented to us today, which talks mainly to the accreditation of operators. Who are these operators? These are people who are engaged in income and export. But we also want to look at the same accreditation for our domestic trade, the commissioner. We should learn from this one. Then we conceptualize it for our domestic trade as well, so that we can have some accreditation mechanism. VESPIC is willing to partner with us so that we can put together a program to get us, stimulate our domestic trade as well. Now, as a way forward for VESPIC, colleagues, the President has agreed with the board of VESPIC that we endorse this program fully, as one of the critical ones. We have to prioritize as VESPIC and also quickly get to a space where we can put together a small budget to assist our members to roll into the accreditation program for the different operators. So that's the commitment we have, and these are fully SWAZs, and we are keen. If you haven't joined First Week, I know you have SPAZA shops somewhere. If you haven't joined First Week, please join, because even that, I'm saying this quietly, Commissioner, close your ears and those. If you have tax issues which you are struggling with currently, you might have received a letter of demand. You might have received a letter. Don't get frustrated. Shift that to us.
Okay.
We have a relationship with ERS. Don't keep that letter of demand to a level where it will stress you. Bring it to us. We are at your service. We'll assist you nicely to sail through that before you get to court. You can't go to court with us. We'll protect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kwane, for the remarks. We appreciate that you have seen a move from what we used to be as an organization to where we are today. I would have loved to give an opportunity to the ES and the CG to say their remarks here, but I think they've said most of the things that they would love to say in their presentations or their speeches. However, I will, at this point, I'd love to take some of the comments or questions that we would have, which may also give them an opportunity to respond or come in terms of some of the areas that they would want to speak to. I will start with you, Brightwell, and I think there is a question on the difference. Maybe I would say yourself, or it would be Precious. There is need for clarity, particularly on the difference, because we have known the program as the Preferred Trader Program, now is the AEO. How is it different? And what has it changed? Is it not just name change?
Thank you, Vusi. So basically, when SACU rolled out the program, we were learning from SARS. We actually under SACU have, I think the Executive Secretary did mention that we have a number of initiatives, and AEO is one of them. So we have been appointing champions from the 5 member states. So SARS was already ahead in terms of implementation of the accreditation program, and it had been named there as a Preferred Trader Program. So we sort of used that name, but best practice, because the concepts that anchor this program are basically found in literature and tools and instruments that are used by the WCO, World Customs Organization. The naming there has really been about authorized economic operators. So what happened is that within the SACU region, the WCO came and did an assessment of what our Preferred Trader Program was, and it was validated to say that it is indeed the economic operator program focusing on customs compliance. So this is why, as a region, together we are embracing that shift to say, let's call it by the standard which is used the world over, so that internationally the recognition just becomes easy to say we are implementing an AEO program, so that even if you are trading with people in Asia, in Europe, in the Americas, they recognize, because this is a name that is used the world over. But maybe just to mention that it has 2 levels. I think we are going to learn it from the presentation that our champion is going to give later on. We have AEO customs compliance, which is basically what preferred trader is. And then we've got AEO, safety and security. Now that's a broader one, which is looking at the entire supply chain. So that's the critical difference in the naming, that PTP will just focus basically on customs compliance, which is also AEO level 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Precious. Mr. Kasibe, there is one question that relates to possible gaps that would have been seen in the AEO program. And the question would be, how do we as SACU, how do you as SACU intend closing those gaps, or addressing the gaps that have been identified under the AEO program?
Thank you, Busi. I think it's important to stress that, as I believe the Commissioner General actually did, that this program is actually owned by business. It is actually sort of a transformation from how generally policymakers like ourselves sitting in our offices designing programs for you as business who are out there in the ground and actually having the knowledge and the know-how of the reality on the ground. That era is gone. We're not talking about an era where, as this program really seeks to achieve, business takes the lead. And the role of us as public officials is to listen and try and make sure that we respond as much as we can to the needs of business, because it is only when we do that that we'll come up with solutions that in fact respond to where the binding constraints are in terms of making you more efficient, more effective. As such, any weaknesses in the program that we identify, it becomes a continuous improvement journey. I mean, I think, as Precious has just said, we started with PTP, which was looking at the compliance element, but with time, we're including now issues of safety and security. I'm told that in South Africa, SARS now has accredited 2 operators in the safety and security tier, because you've got those tiers. It's only those 2 in the region in South Africa that have been accredited, which basically means they are trusted to a point of saying if their container is moving around, you don't tamper with it. You don't worry about what's in the container, because you know that they have the know-how, they have the business processes, they have the trust that I think Inati talked about here. They are trusted to move their containers all over, and you now start even having countries in the developed world even accepting such cargo from those specific traders, and it's not scrutinized thoroughly, at least, because there's a belief that even from issues of terrorism threats and issues of safety in terms of any unwarranted or unwanted substances, you then work on the basis of trust. But my point being, really, business shapes it. Business continuously should be improving it, working together with the side of government, so that collectively we are more responsive.
Okay, thank you, Thabo. I guess it's business is very clear that it cannot be a one man's effort. We all need to work together, but particularly business need to make their inputs to ensure that there is that improvement. Right, well, there's a specific one to you here in terms of how ready the ERS is, and is the team even ready for this? Are we sure it's going to be a seamless process with this AEO? I think that's the question.
Thank you, Busi. Indeed, we are ready. We are together with business in the NTFC. We actually co-chairs with business and the ministry. And, we commit. I've said this before, and I'm happy here that the business is the one that is taking the lead on this one, because our pledge is, I've said it before, we work for you. We work for business. We will work with business, big and small. We will work with business in this accreditation process. We are ready to assist you. We will educate you. We will work with business in spreading the word, educating the members on what it will take for them to be accredited. And there are a number of conditions that Precious has put up there. We are not setting those up as traps. So we will be assisting business in understanding and complying to those conditions. We have invested over the years on IT systems that are also meant to make it even easier to comply, that are meant to simplify the processes. I'll just give one example. This is a game of trust, as COB mentioned earlier. We need to trust each other. We have already seen that. I could name one or two companies where the companies have come forward and say, we want to be trusted by you. We're opening up our systems. Connect our systems to your systems so that the systems can automatically assist with the compliance obligations. As we speak, we have is it two? We're piloting with one, and we're at a very advanced stage. This trader has allowed us to connect their enterprise resource planning system to the custom system. So whenever they do cross-border deliveries, their system will trigger an invoice at the delivery node. That information will be captured and create a declaration. And we are encouraging others as well to do likewise, so that even on the tax space, we can be generating, VAT returns. We can be doing the PAYE records but the key, really, the key word is trust. So once a taxpayer or a trader has opened up their system, they are saying, we have nothing to hide. So we will work together to ensure that you meet the requirements of the accreditation. Whenever there may be instances that we pick up, instances of non-compliance, the initial reaction is not your time to behave. The initial reaction would be, oh, this is either a systems glitch or a mistake, because there will be. And there will be difficulties along the way. But once the parties trust each other, the initial reaction is not you trying to dodge, but it's a mistake. So we hear business, first week, we hear DE, we hear to work with you. And we have seen in the past the willingness and commitments. We have an MOU with you, and we have the TCW, tax confession with, and we have received, colleagues, we have received clients coming downhill after they had made the confessions to the bishop, to the high priest. And we're happy to say that in this NTFC again, BE is a leader. We're there to support. We are working very hard to revive the secretariat, to rejuvenate it, So in the next couple of weeks, we will begin to see some visible progress there. And lastly, this trust will not be restricted to our border processes. We want to bring the trust across the organization. We are planning a taxpayer appreciation day at some point where we will be acknowledging our clients for working with us in this journey. So, in direct response to the question, apologies, I've responded with an essay. Yes, we are ready.
Good.
Thank you.
The answer is yes, we are ready. The ERS is ready. I'll take one or two from the floor if there is any, particularly from business. If there are any questions, I'll take two.
We have applied for AEO with SARS for TRS in South Africa, where we send goods to most of the chain stores in South Africa. So the accreditation was team has done, but eventually they came back to and said that the company in Swaziland has to be accredited by ERS. So they said that they want to jointly come and visit us here in Swaziland, Eswatini, sorry. So I think the program is coming at a very, very good time for us, because actually it was last week that they said this, that they need to do it in Eswatini. And then once, my question was that in this program, because we will definitely apply for AEO, and just SARS needs to come to do a joint evaluation, or it's just ERS that does it in Eswatini, and it applies to SARS, where the companies can be jointly accredited. Thank you.
Thank you, Musi. Mine would be to ES. I believe one of the fundamental reasons why we're here is not being magnified. The thing that, why are we doing this? My take is, this is talking to addressing issues around economic development. The other stuff that comes with it is the management part of the process. And one of your key deliverables is ensuring that the development component for these peripheral member states yields the desired turnaround in the nature of their industries. So when we look at the current setup, the AEO, are we tracking what are these major products that they are bringing in easy? My take from my intuition is mainly consumption-based goods. There's little that is talking to high value add towards manufacturing. So that is now going directly to economic growth. That part is the one that is also what is holding us back as SACU. Our model of SACU is such that we have all these barriers in terms of checks and balances on the duty basis, based on the tariffs that are in effect. And when you look at the structure of those tariffs, they are mainly driven at a much more sensitive level via ITAC. And when you bring it to the local or domestic economies, and you look at the advanced rulings that are being proposed, we have issues which are sitting with that entity, which have gone about 6 months desired rate. Some have gone for more than a year or two, such that some businesses have had to scale down or shut down. So that's the first part where I want to hear to probably shed some light as to, now that we are driving this one, which is talking to integration, regional integration, how do we then start looking at these bottlenecks that we have, which are mainly derived from the duty basis that we attach to each of the tariff lines?
We can take the leaf from what we see with Brexit and the EU. The moment they left EU at Devon, they are doing the same, they have the same bottlenecks that were not there before Brexit. So for you as guiding this, how do you help us as small member states to move away from all these controls that are tariff or duty-based, to have a seamless movement of goods between Gaborone and Mbabane, and not worry about domestic VAT there and all these other associated domestic taxes? You could probably also, with this program, address the why. The why is economic development. That's why we have a development component in our current arrangement. So it's just assisting us with that, yes.
Thank you. I think the first question was also trying to find out if SARS needs to be involved this side in order for accreditation to happen. The understanding I have, and I think Precious maybe will confirm, the arrangement is that it is ERS that accredits in Eswatini. And then SARS has agreed to recognize whatever it is that ERS has accredited to give them the same benefits on the RSA side. Similarly, what SARS accredits in South Africa, ERS has agreed to recognize whatever it is that has been accredited in South Africa, in Eswatini. The same thing will apply with anybody accredited in Lesotho, Botswana, or Namibia. When they get here, they would have been accredited by the customs administration in that country. When they get here, they will enjoy the same benefits. So the idea of a mutual recognition agreement is that I accredit, you recognize. So that then this, by being accredited here, immediately you are accredited in the entire SACU region. That's a great benefit of this. You can confirm that, Precious? And it's been signed. You see, he confirms it's been signed. So this is it, yeah. Musi is coming up with a very interesting angle to this of development, which I totally, I think, agree with, in that we're not doing this as an end in itself. You know, it's one thing to be saying, accredited economic operator, you get to the border, you'll all enjoy seamless, you know, exit and entry and be recognized all over the region. But at the end of it all, there is that economic development mandate that we all drive towards. We want to better the lives of the people in our countries and in the region. We want to improve economic outcomes. And you're right also in pointing out that it's one thing also to be facilitating, but what is it that we are facilitating? Is it your low value added type of goods? There are arguments actually in development conversations that we need to start focusing on that in terms of really the content of that export basket from Eswatini. What are you exporting? And how much know-how you have in that content, because it's been recognized that one thing that differentiates the developed from the developing countries or underdeveloped countries is the content of their export basket. Japan's export basket is made up of high value-added, high know-how content in those goods. You know, this microphone that I'm using here could very well be coming from Japan or Taiwan or France. But in turn, what then Eswatini would be exporting, what is it? Is it high knowledge, high value added like this microphone or this TV screen? But you find normally that we actually import high value content and export low value added goods. And then we end up with this situation of constant, structural, persistent trade deficit. It's so funny because what happens is even when your economy grows,
you import more because people are awash with money, isn't it? And they buy more food. Where do they get the food from across the border? They buy more vehicles. Where do they get the vehicles? They buy more fancy suits and shoes and, all manner of, electronic goods. They then increase the import bill because we get high value content coming from outside and low value content exports. And then the imbalance kills the economic growth because the more you import, the more pressure you put on your foreign exchange reserves. For countries like Eswatini and my country, Lesotho and Namibia, whose currencies are pegged to the rand, you're always monitoring that foreign exchange reserve position because it becomes very dangerous when you run those reserves down and you have to now stop the growth because it becomes counterproductive. So you're onto something, and the industrialization pillar in the SACU strategy that I talked about, one of the things that really it should be looking at is that idea of how do we, as we go into that Africa Cup of Nations I talked about, look at not just exporting whatever it is that we currently have. Let's diversify, okay? Let's move into other sectors, and not just any other sectors, perhaps start moving up the value-added ladder to start producing more sophisticated, high value-added goods that require more skill. And when you do that, obviously it means if I'm producing not just a t-shirt in a textile assembly line, I'm producing a microphone or a car or a TV or a cell phone, I invariably will be adding more because the productivity then and the skill requirements are higher. That's how you now start lifting economic growth, and therefore development follows because you moved up the value-added ladder. So it's a very, 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 very important point that you raised, and I'm glad you raised it. It is something that we shall be really moving into aggressively as SACU in that industrialization pillar, and to try also make sure that as we export into the African economies under the AFCFTA, we're not just exporting your primary commodities in their raw unprocessed, state, but rather high value-added finished final products, where now you start, in fact, even moving into issues of intellectual property rights, so that there will be technologies that are owned by businesses in Eswatini or brands that trade in Africa, having been started here in Eswatini, and therefore now bringing serious high-value capital and profits into the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabo. I've got only 6 minutes left in my program. We need to wind up. Does look like there is another hand over there. I'm taking that as the last hand, and I then want to request my panelists to sum up. And Mr. Squane, I'm going to give you an opportunity when you do your summary. You will then make the point that you want to make, but I'm going to give each and every one of you a minute, except for my brother next to me, he will get a little bit more.
Good morning to everybody in the house this morning. A wonderful presentation and a wonderful opportunity for business people in Eswatini. It feels good to be here for the first time. This house has been a dangerous house and a house of fear for many years. So today I'm sitting here relaxed and chilled and enjoying the vibe. I think that's commendable. I'm one of those people that has to always start by appreciating something good. And it has been a good experience this morning, even though I found breakfast was finished. I just want to say we are in the agricultural sector of business, and we get to the borders. You want to ride on the train of being what you call an economical preferred operator I can't remember the exact name of it, and you want to comply and you want to do everything right, but I want to direct my question or my comment to the ERS. Has the ERS, for us especially in Eswatini, engaged other partners that you have, especially at your borders? For instance, you have the Ministry of Agriculture, you have the NAMBOARD department. These are one of our biggest frustrations of dealing with ERS and getting finished with everything and then being stopped and returned your trucks after you have already declared and everything's been done. Then penalties being charged because now you'll be reversing because somebody within those partners that you have has picked up something maybe that the ERS is not really looking at and is another department. And that department is only coming to play within that. So within this preferred trade, have you engaged these other partners? Have you looked at how are you going to make these trucks not sit at the border for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours because now there's a misunderstanding in these paperwork based on what they are looking at. It also does frustrate our moves, like we're going back into South Africa. Still, we have to apply 48 hours before for documentation sent to their departments, different departments to get clearance at the border. Our vehicles are still standing with a live commodity, by the way, and it sits at the border for 6 to 8 hours. 2 weeks ago, we exported and we found half of the consignment dead on arrival when we arrived at our destination. So what I'm saying is, it's a product that we are bringing in eggs from one country, hatching eggs, and we are producing them in Swaziland, Eswatini, into their own chicks, and then we are exporting out. Our biggest frustration is the delays at the border are killing the product. How are we doing it? And 9 out of 10 times, it's not your fault as ERS, but it's your other partners that you are working with in that space that then makes the whole experience of the border trade very difficult and complicated. How is this program going to ease that if you are not yet engaging with your other partners in your space? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the question is clear. I think the question is clear, Precious. May I request that in responding to it, then you give your pattern remark, if you have any, and then I will then proceed with the rest of the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Vusi, and that's a very relevant question. I think Vusi indicated that we are in day 3 today, so day 2, yesterday, we actually engaged with the government agencies, as you are correctly referring to them as partner agencies. These are the entities with whom we extended the invite to say, this is the accreditation program, and it is based on also looking at requirements currently from a customs and tax perspective, but we want to grow to a point where an accredited client is also facilitated by all agencies that are at the border. So we have extended an invite to say, let's walk the journey together, because really the goal for SACU is to implement what we refer to as a single government AEO program. So all the border agencies are supposed to recognize the status. And how will that recognition come? It will come because they have built in their requirements into what we are validating or checking when we give the accreditation status. So engagements have started, and we agreed that under the umbrella of the National Trade Facilitation Committee, we will continue to have a specialized working group that is going to collect the issues and concerns from the government agencies so that we build them into the program, and we then do an accreditation that will cut across requirements for all stakeholders at the border. I do not have any parting remarks
only to thank the audience for the engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. It does look like the ES. Tabo, you wanted to follow up on something? Yeah, thank you. Before I give you one.
I actually wanted to follow up on what Precious says and use this as my use up my parting shots in response to the lady's question, because I think it's a very, very important question, because as they say, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. It's one thing to have all the other links, or the customs link very, very strong, but where the chain will break will be at the immigration or the health inspector or whatever stage. What needs to happen, and which is the thinking in terms of going forward, and again we said this is continuous improvement, is to start focusing on coordinated border management. I've been a commissioner of customs, and I know Gugu, the commissioner here, I'm sure she takes blame for anything that happens at a border post. That's in the nature of the business. You'll get blamed for what immigration does, you'll get blamed for what health does or the police do. In fact, you'll even get blamed for what SARS does, SARS wakes up one morning and says, we no longer allow this, and then the Commissioner General will get blamed for the decisions that are taken across the border. You push back against it until you realize, you know what, that's just the nature of the business I'm in. And you therefore start reaching out to make sure that you engage in, stakeholder management, rather than sit back and say, I have my own corner, I've played my AEO is there, I don't care what happens outside it. What I'm saying, ma'am, is that we will be focusing on coordination, and this is what Precious is saying, starting here. In Lesotho, where I was the Commissioner General, the main border post at Maseru is actually now, as we speak, running on a pilot basis. It's managed by the Revenue Services Manager of that border post. She manages the police, she manages the health people, she manages agri people. Everybody reports to them in terms of what happens at the border post, so that you are now beginning to align even the business processes, because this is being looked at from the perspective of the business person. It's not us saying, oh, I'm good, look at me, I have an AEO program. It's about what impact it has on your bottom line. And if I'm strengthening the link of customs and leaving this other, links in the chain weak, it doesn't help you. And I think you're raising a very important, pertinent point that I'm glad you did, because it validates the importance of us moving into that as the next phase. Thank you. That was my parting shot, and thank you for everybody for having been here today so patiently. And please take up the program, register, but own it. For me, that's what's important. Own it, shape it together with ERS. I'm glad to hear, obviously, ERS being a service now. It's out there, it's very clear that this is now the new way of doing business. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. For first speak, can we assure you that the country has progressed? I think you will recall that the country has already established the State Business Relations Program, which is housed in the Prime Minister's office, managed by the Secretary in the Prime Minister's office. Now this is saying State Business Relations, business sector is coming into a table with the state to try and harmonize all the bottlenecks which affect business, which will obviously affect the state. So this program is coming in at the right time, because we're already moving at that level with the government. What the agri sector is citing as well, for us as First Speak, we have started a coordination function where we want to set up who are basically setting it up to make sure that all the agri-businesses in the country, either they are importing or exporting, we can have a facilitation wing where we manage these issues of getting the paper to the border as quickly as possible. Load shedding happened in South Africa, and getting an invoice from the source to the border has been difficult. And you find that it affects our members when they get to the border. You find that the invoices are not yet there. So those are challenges we're trying to rectify in terms of all that coordination we were setting up. Now, the border partnership will be key. I'm happy that it has been raised, and we have an example now in Lesotho, which has to be our benchmark on how they've done it. And I know ERS has systems, they can be better positioned to manage all the borders, same as what Lesotho has done. Now, First Week has a Vusumnoto program, which has prioritized colleagues the issue of transformation and integration. Now we are advocating seriously on the issue of running a business with an agenda of fully integrating your business with all stakeholders. Don't run it alone. So ERS becomes your key stakeholder, but there are no more taxmen. Are you still taxmen? You are servicemen. So if they are servicemen, they can assist us to also grow the service wing of our own businesses, because rightfully say they have systems which we might not be privy to have, and they can assist as much as possible. So a parting shot will be, thanks SACU, thanks ERS for championing this. You have our full support, and we will partner with you to roll it out to our members in their different levels. Thank you.
Brightwell, your parting shot.
Just in summary, this program is about trust. It's a program that gets us on trust between the parties. Between the client and service provider, between us as a revenue administration and our taxpayers. And I am yet to come across one taxpayer that says, I don't want to comply with my tax applications. Even those that we have to have difficult conversations with, they always say it was a mistake. I had no intentions. So now that gives us the confidence that everyone is ready. So we wish to thank BE, First Week, all our clients. Would appreciate if we would hear you say one day the ERS works for us. So, Mr. Squane, Lamini, please, we work for you. And we do have the NTFC as a vehicle for navigating this journey. Just last week, Kuku sent me for training in Johannesburg. It was NTFC, difficult training. I must tell you, it was a week long. Exams every day, and we had to pass the exams to qualify for the next day. And I can tell you, I qualified for all those days. And I do have a certificate that I brought home, and I will frame it in the office. Yeah, so this was in preparation to assist drive the National Trade Facilitation Committee. And WCO, thank you to the SACU team as well for coordinating and supporting us all week and even the days to come. And thanks to our clients here with us. The media as well will be promoting this program in partnership with the media. I would like to also thank my colleagues at the ERS. We made the pledge in our strategic plan. We said we'll make it easy. We also said we want to achieve 100% on compliance for a better kingdom of Eswatini. This is a vehicle for us. And then lastly, the organizers, Maggie and the team, thank you. It looked very daunting on Tuesday when we were doing the plans, but it's come together. As well as our own ERS organizing team. Thank you guys for putting such a wonderful program together. Thank you.
Thank you, Brightwell, and thanks to all the panelists. I said that I'll give the High Priest here more time because he has to do the closing remarks as well for us. So you can take to the podium and start sitting here. Thank you.
You should have stood up at least. When somebody says, High Priest, stand up. No. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I know it is late in the hour, and you've been sitting there for quite some time. I'm sorry about that, even though it's not my fault. But having said that, it's often said by many others that gratitude is the most exquisite form of courtesy, and therefore I stand up to express that gratitude. Firstly, to a very, very able and unrivaled Director of Programs here today, Mr. Lamini, who took us through. Thank you so much for your grace. Please, would you? But also, I think I would be remiss if I don't mention the people from the private sector, the businesses that made and invested in the time being here. I know that your time is expensive and it's money, but you have sacrificed and you came here. So I say thank you too for doing that. And I do ask you, as I say my thanks, go amplify this message. Pass it around, talk about it, put it in your social media. It's a new change you are forging. This new relationship between the private sector and the taxman, intractable as it is, but it is symbiotic, and it is the beginning of it. It needs to be nurtured. Expectations from both sides, again, as we build trust. But I'm thinking we're onto something here for the very, very first time. There are people here who look at this as a house. Yes, go ahead. There have people out here who have expressed that this used to be the house of torture. That is a damning statement. Yes, a house of fear. I hereby quote someone whose name I shall not mention, but she knows what I'm talking about. But she was speaking on behalf of a lot of people. House of torture. But they're saying, no, you can't. This is a house of partnership. And to me, I think that is something to behold. And with that in mind, we would like as a private sector to say thank you, ERS, for the new vision that you are driving forward. All we can do is to partner with you. Thank you, my contemporaries as well from FESPIC, who have openly endorsed this program. We say thank you to them. And also my brother Tabo from ES. We are onto something here. Please come back again and again, and we thank you that you are able to come through. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, may God bless you. See you soon.